Hello, everyone. Welcome to the return of By the Numbers. I don't even know what fucking episode it is. It's is it 83?
Yeah.
But, so that's like what 123 episodes.
Yeah,
Here's
I
the
can't
thing.
remember
I
the
know
original
people.
was.
Oh.
People always get triggered by that name, don't they? So I've come up with a better name. It's going to be called the start of the path of the return of the end of the last episode
Of the
By
Fellowship.
Because if you follow it logically, that is what it is. It's just that that doesn't give any clue as to where we are within that progression. But
The Fellowship of By the Numbers.
yeah, exactly. So
Something
no
like
problem.
that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Obviously, I'm Richie Lewis. That's Duncan Torrin Shields. The floating disembodied voice you can hear is Sam, our producer. So look, let's start. I wasn't at Cologne, guys. So I was quite sad about it. I was watching it from home. I rigged my sleep pattern the correct way so I could watch all the games. But Sam went, and obviously Duncan, you were working it. So I wanted to just talk about, before we talk about any of the fucking games or any of the storylines, just what it was like being there, because it seemed to have a fucking great atmosphere. From where I was watching, and it's very rare. I'm envious of people who get to go to events these days. I've done so fucking many of them, but yeah, a little bit envious. Sat here in Las Vegas in the blistering 105-degree heat, sweating.
Well,
my
the moon that I
body
knew
off.
was going to be sick from the crowd is usually the first day of an esports tournament is pretty dead. Like only half the people show up because it's either on like a Friday or a Thursday. People got work. Even on that day, mate, just full of people doing the Mexican wave. Soon as I sit down, phones in the air. It was sick. Until someone
What about
started
you,
blowing a horn, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
some
did.
kind
I
of
did hear someone brought a Vuvuzela.
No, what was great was, by the way, shout out to Machine for getting this one, because the guy it was just one guy with the Vuvuzela, right? And what happened was, after the event, I can't remember in what context, the guy tagged Alex in a tweet and said
I saw it.
with picture of himself and the Vuvuzela, was like, I'll be back next year. And then Machine just goes, don't come back, you're not welcome. And then all of the talent just retweeted that immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: I wasn't a big fan of Vuvuzelas when they came in for the fucking South African World Cup or whatever it was. At least it was sort of culturally.
It sounds like some sort of a fucking
appropriate, right? Because
euphemism
it's their
for one of the
instrument.
sex's, genitals or something. She had a fucking brilliant Vuvuzela. Tell you what, the bloody sound coming out.
I give her the horn.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah, mate. If you present it with a Vuvuzela and it's making that noise, maybe
Either
walk
that
on
or
by.
you get called from your old girlfriend. Yeah, I've got Vuvuzela. Oh, fucking, do I have to go and check my salad or what?
Before you wreck yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a touch of Vuvuzela in the past myself. But yeah, so the atmosphere looked good. Sam, you were getting some stuff for did you get any
I
idents
didn't
or anything?
do anything, man. I'm just a drunk mess, and I showed up with free beer the entire weekend. It was game over, but I filmed one shot of the crowd, so maybe I'll put some B-roll in you, but I've tried that.
Mate, one shot isn't B-roll. B-roll
Oh, it was a long
is
shot,
multiple
It
shots.
was at least 40 seconds. We'll use it for
Fuck.
everything, mate.
What a fucking mess.
Made
you
use of
are,
that
mate.
opportunity.
One job.
Yeah.
One
I
job,
even
right? You
bought a
literally,
camera,
I
bought a
didn't even
whole
ask
new
him.
setup.
I didn't even ask him, right? This is the fucked up thing. He said, Rich, man, I'm going to go to ESL 1 Cologne, so I'll get us loads, what we used to do for Trash Talk with the idents and stuff. I'll get us loads of that. He completely volunteered it. So, he does this thing, he does it all the time, where it's he just unrealistically manages my expectations, where I think, yeah, Sam's actually not going to be a fucking ridiculous mess this time. He's going to do
Yeah,
something.
but I have got some good
contribute to the
news.
show.
I found all the old
what's that?
idents we had, so I've got hundreds of them anyway that we never even used. So there we go, mate. It's like
No
I did
need.
it anyway.
Just use some ident of someone from about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm mean.
Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, it's going to be hi, I'm Sebler, live from ESL 1
Oh, I have got
Cologne.
one of Semler, I think, as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
With a
Yeah,
flower in
fucking
a
current,
Cluj
isn't it?
There
Napoca.
you go.
Fucking sound.
He does say
Yeah,
it's
just
great to show on Twitch, mate. That's a big one.
I'm
you
I'm
go.
Kia Shima trying to knock out Richard.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll get that one in, shall we? Get all the greats. All right, well, fuck it. I'm glad you had a good time.
was great.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was. I wish I could have had a few beers here, but it was just fucking too early.
Yeah.
I tried. I gave it a good go, but yeah, it was a hell of a fucking tournament. So look, let's talk about that.
Roger,
there was
let
actually
me
one.
address that, because I actually think I kind of alluded to it before, and I think it came true. is that the real reason why the whole Blast soft exclusivity thing ultimately did fail is because Team Liquid did win that qualifier. So in the end, whereas there would have been no events from one major to the other with all the elite teams there, because obviously Team Liquid never more than in the headlines than right coming up to this event. So it would have been perfect if you didn't want your rival to have any of the big teams for them not to be in Cologne. But actually, I think the knock-on effect was because they almost succeeded, it ended up being worse because what they did is make ESL Cologne feel like the figure point of the last 4 months. It felt like the whole thing was like collected all the storylines. Pretty much every good team basically was there, except for like maybe G2 who didn't qualify, you know, that's about it. So that's why I think so many people, if you notice on the last 2 days, were hyping the angle of like, it should be a major, you know, it's as good as the majors. Like that, I don't think that would have happened if we'd have had the normal circuit. Like it was still a great event. I think it could have been a great high point, but it felt to me like this is where you know that what reading Reddit will always skew your perspective of what the general public thinks. Because if you'd read like the people who were stands of Blast and stuff, you'd think there was a lot of people who thought it was fine, the circuit we just had and the Blast events were fun. But I got the sentiment from the outpouring of like celebration of this event that a lot of people were like, holy fuck, what's been going on for the last few months? This is what we were missing. Like these are what the real tournaments are like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a few interesting kind of like things sort of around the tournament, right? Because we had Liquid and Vitality in the final, and they were both teams that ostensibly sort of came through qualifiers, correct?
Yes, both of them did.
So that, you know, that in itself, I mean, there's a universe where Team Liquid, I mean, the idea that they were ever going to let this one go is so mind-blowing to me when you consider not only do they win it, not only does it kickstart, you know, all this talk about is it an era or not, they win the Grand Slam off it. They were literally not going to go to this voluntarily. Yep. The entire sort of like CS scene had to come together to manufacture a bullshit qualifier to get them there. And they could have not won that. Online CS, guys, like we all know how fucking crazy that can be. It's just so, I don't know if the like teams don't think about this shit, right? But like we had Astralis basically just give up a legacy, and we had fucking Liquid risk not starting a legacy, not starting an era for just stupid fucking reasons because players just want to treat like fucking events like it's a holiday. And I hate that insidious kind of thought process that's come in off the Blast. Like, hey, come out, you know, you get to go to all these glamorous locations. It's only best of ones, loads of free time, you know, free cocktails. Like, what is this? It's not fucking Club Tropicana, is it, you silly cunts? You're meant to be in a sport. You know, the things like ESL One Cologne are like the fucking Super Bowl. You should give a fuck. So, yeah, I was pretty fucking weirded out by that shit. By the way, Sam, people are saying I'm out of sync. I don't know why that would be the case. Is that a real thing?
It's fine on my end.
Yeah.
I'll change server. One sec. We'll change because it is different.
Whatever. If no fucking idiots. Right.
Any lie in it.
Yeah, we'll just have a lie and interrupt the show.
His name, like, refresh something. Was it some sort of PR
It did dip
guy?
out slightly, to be fair, but I think it was just the classic.
Well, whatever. If just keep an eye on it. So anyway, you had that, and obviously you had Vitality, who had a miracle run through the tournament, and they could not have been there. So crazy shit. But let's talk about the sort of storylines coming up, and we'll save the best to last. So we'll work up from you know, the kind of obvious stories. Let's start with a bit of MIBR, shall we? Holy fucking shit. I mean, I am never backing these guys to do anything ever again. I think.
See why I've been out on these guys for a long time, mate.
No, but here's the thing. Like, all right, the reality is, I've talked about this like for a while. The balance has been off in the team. I don't want to say too.
I'd run like an yoga. Is it me?
No, it's Rich.
Oh, it's him, right? There we go. Yeah, he's completely frozen for me.
He's out of phrase.
I wonder what's going on with his internet then. Oh, is he coming back?
Oh. Nah.
He's done. And done.
And gone forever. Oh, there he is. He's back. I can hear him now, Rich, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I just completely froze up. So I'm just having
to check. Oh, was it Discord having a freeze, or was it?
Yeah, the Discord problem. Like the internet's fine. The connection's still solid. But, yeah, whatever. So anyway, so I was, we'll cut that out.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll just get a refresh guy, and he'll explain that. Actually, what we're doing is we're trying a new like intermittent discussion in a talk show where what happens every now and then, the internet will intentionally lag to give other people a chance that they'll jump in then. It's lagged again. It's all like, just said that. Because we're just trying a new format here, guys. Like, work with us, you know. Some of our fans, actually with bad internet, so this is how they like to view the show all the time. So it's a very intimate show, this one.
I know.
We're just getting absolutely fucked by the internet, very intimately, though.
So this was this was like the first time we saw Lucas coming in for the team, and there was just nothing that made me like, I wasn't confident in the move beforehand, but I certainly wasn't after watching them play at this event. I mean, it was absolutely just a woeful performance. They go out in last place. When you consider, like, okay, with Ents going out in last place, which we'll talk about in a second, that's a fucking anomaly, and they got super unlucky. Right, real talk. But for MIBR going out in last place, this is a continuation of this downward spiral, of this decline that they've been in for a while. And you can say, "Oh, we made a change, so it had this impact." You shouldn't look this bad. You were already at what I thought was going to be rock bottom for the team. You made a change, and there's no honeymoon period apparent. You actually lost to one of the teams I thought was the worst there in losing to Big.
Yep.
I think this Big team is a fucking disaster. I think they're terrible.
All that needs to be said is it's not like Big winning that game spurred them on some epic run like it did last year. They themselves just immediately went out of the tournament, not even against the top team, and quite frankly showed nothing, even including the MIBR game for my money, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I had MIBR over Fnatic because I thought it was going to heal like a lot of the problems now that Phelps wasn't there. Completely wrong. And then in the Big series, I mean, it was like, remember, this is not the Smooya Big in Cologne that was like liable to give somebody a tune in. This is a Big with Dennis. You know, this is a Big with like,
and apparently, I don't know if you heard this storyline. It was only revealed like after they'd already gone out that apparently they were just letting Tabson try being the in-game leader at this tournament.
Yep. No, I was going to bring that up.
You know, invalidates the very premise of the team, doesn't it? Like that's one of those things where when you hear that sounds like when coldzera just became IGL of MIBR. It's like, right, is this the last thing we try before we break the band up, you know?
Yeah, no, it's this trend. It's this trend, right? That, and you will see it in Counter-Strike all the time. And it's Big's turn to do it, where it's like, oh, fucking hell, these like legendary in-game leaders who like have all the tactics, do all the playbooks, but they can't frag out, right? And we lose rounds because of that. Well, I'm a star player, and I believe I can do it all. It's NiKo syndrome. And it's happened to how many fucking people? You know, they all get it in their heads just because they can top a fucking scoreboard. They can lead a team. I got a newsflash for you old motherfuckers. You can't. And I've never seen anything in Tabson's career or personality that makes me think he's going to be a great in-game leader. If anything, it's more egregious than NiKo's. It's so fucking dumb. And you got Shocks doing it. The only star player I've seen have a go at in-game leading where the team is appreciably improved is Valde, because Valde is one of the best all-rounders in the world and super intelligent. But coldzera's had a go. Garbage. Shocks has had a go. We all know that's fucking game over for the French team when fucking Shocks does it. Fucking obviously coldzera, that was just unbelievable. And now you got Tabson doing it, and there's probably a bunch of others that I forgot. So yeah, you're probably right. I think first of all, bringing Dennis in, garbage move. I know. Like, I love the guy. He's such a nice, humble, respectful guy. But then again, he's got every reason to be a nice, humble, respectful guy because he's not that good.
Oh, he has to be, mate. When they make one of those moves, that's one of those moves where it just makes you think, actually, I need to reconsider everything I said about Smooya and Big and about how he's fucked up his only chance at the top level. Because what we didn't realize was we were comparing it. A guy who's a bit of an arsehole, hasn't figured out how to work with a team yet. We were comparing him being replaced with a competent professional level player that would mean Big was better. But actually what you've seen so far with the terrible Xantares experiment and then the Dennis move that, as I say, yeah, it's a downgrade and it doesn't make any sense even in the team. And apparently they've been even using him as the AWP or something ridiculous. So if you add all this shit up together, it's like, you know what? This is a terrible situation for Smooya because it's making him think he's right and that his behavior is correct. Like, look, see, they did need me. Look, they needed someone at my level. And I can't even say he's entirely wrong after seeing how fucking bad.
No, but this is the reality. This is the reality. He was always right. It's not about it, right? Smooya the Rat King is the problem, not Smooya the AWPer, not Smooya the player. Sure. It's Smooya the guy who just fucking hates his teammates because they're speaking German when they're German. It's Smooya who won't listen to his in-game leader who says, listen, I think we should move you to secondary open because I've got some ideas for Tabson. And he has a tantrum about it. That Smooya is a cancer to any team he will be in. And if he doesn't grow out of it, because, look, everyone's lost in this deal. Let's not pretend Smooya's had people beating down his fucking door and he's going to be on a top team. No top team wants to touch him. I mean, that's the reality. Because if they did, he would have been got by now. Like, no joke. Compared to the Neo move, I could have seen Smooya fitting into this cut price fucking phase. I could have seen that. They'd probably be better off. I don't think Neo's the fucking in-game leader solution that they're looking for. So, really weird with Big and this Tabson thing, and I think it's going to fail. And because why would you have God be around? Like, why would you literally have God be in the team if he's not the in-game leader? Why would you use him? So,
which surely God be on some level must understand. So surely he didn't just volunteer this idea happen.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. But anyway, we're talking about MIBR. So let's just underline it. This team looks abysmal.
You nailed this last episode when you said, "Why is this another move presented as a loan? Wasn't this the one where they said like technically he's on loan initially or something?" There was words to that effect, wasn't there? Like they were trying to set up as though they knew this wasn't a permanent change.
After last episode, I won't say who. But I was approached by some people who, let's say, have a good knowledge of, the Brazilian scene and MIBR in particular. And they just said, like, everything you're saying on the show is true, all the theory crafting you do. And it's like you're a fly on the wall. You've nailed 95% of the issues. Specifically, it was the Cold Zero Fallen rift.
There we go.
So I feel like there is no fixing this team with one-off roster moves and saying it's a loan and we're going to fix this and we're going to there really isn't. There's something rotten at the heart of it. Like, since they brought Taco and Zeus back, that was meant to be the panacea. It's actually got worse.
That was a move to calm Cold Zero down and tell him, we're doing what you want, the people you want back in the team. Exactly. That was to placate him, as far as I can tell. He was the one who wanted them back in. That's why he wanted to go to Team Liquid when they were there.
Yeah. So, really weird situation. And I don't understand why Lucas was coming in unless they sort of knew Cold Zero was going to go. And maybe it was the pathway to get like Lucas and Henny in there. But then Henny replacing Cold Zero, that's not good. So I don't really understand. But anyway, just to talk about them in the context of ESL 1 Cologne, this is rock bottom. This is what rock bottom looks like. You go out, it's one of the biggest tournaments. You have very beatable opposition, in my opinion. If we just talk
they
about
didn't even have
rosters.
the hardest draw.
No, everything was laid up here for them. Like, bring in Lucas, get a couple of soft wins, say, hey, look, we're improving, and keep the wolf from the door a little bit. But that didn't happen at all. They just looked really bad and disjointed. No cohesion. Tactics terrible. Their T-sides remain an embarrassment. They keep thinking they can play Inferno. They fucking can't. Like, even when they have 12-3 halves on Inferno, they still go to overtime. It's insane. I have no idea why they keep trying to play this map. Because they cannot and will not ever be able to do it. For some reason, Fallen's brain can't crack it. So, yeah, I think for me, that, at this point, I said it publicly, the Immortals group must be thinking, fucking hell, we should have kept those Danes. Because right now, that Optic Danish side would batter MIBR.
Put it this way, everyone is going to think, right, Rich, until before this event, if you just said that, people would have been like, oh, he's gone too far with the hit on MIBR now. Come on, man. All the Optic team did was, win like a dream hack. And, MIBR still
I did say this before ESL 1 Cologne. I was a little bit nervous about it.
Imagine I present you with this scenario, right? We're going to have to keep just one of these teams, But you know what? It's not just keeping the teams, it's a rebuilding project. And you have a choice. You can either take MIBR without Cold Zero, or you can take an MSL-led Optic, which you might be able to add pieces to. Well, the difference between those two is, right, first of all, you take Cold Zero out of MIBR, that's like, what, fucking 60% of the value of the team drops off the face of the planet because there is no replacement coming through that door. Meanwhile, laugh all you want at the Optic team, where they are right now, you add like one good piece to that, they'd be a very powerful team. So like, I'm with you on that one, mate. That's not as ridiculous as it sounds. Or the only angle really that goes in favor of the Brazilians is the whole marketing angle of it's MIBR and they've got the Brazilian fans. And even then,
but here's the thing:
they definitely overestimate how much that's worth. You know,
let me tell you something about the fucking Brazilian fan base. I don't give a fuck. I'll just say it, right? You all talk about that loyalty and that fucking brotherhood and that passion and stuff, but you know they're the biggest fucking critics of the teams when they underperform.
Oh, they're fair weather as fuck, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean across all sports this is true. It's like they have an expectation. You know, I remember watching UFC where Brazilian motherfuckers are booing Vanderlei Silva for, you know what I mean? It's like this guy's a fucking legend and he fights his heart out. Who gives a fuck?
You must have had this. I've had so many times where, because they're not even original, they just all spam that famous picture of Fur when he was in Luminosity in that blue hoodie where he goes like this, right? They all spam that. So what's funny is you're using a player to talk shit to me that you yourself then routinely criticize, yet also won't let be kicked out of your team. Like, do you have any clue how not screwed on your heads are as fans? Like, on the one hand, you want to say they're your players and they rep you, and that's why you vicariously are better by proxy than us somehow, because we don't come from Brazil. But you hate on your own team more than anyone themselves. What the fuck is that? What is that?
Yeah, and that's what I mean, though. But like, I know this from talking to the Brazilian guys. They're like, listen, we get shit off other fans, but it's always Brazilian fans that say the most hurtful and outrageous things when we've had a bad game. I mean, they get kicked very hard when they're down. So let me tell you, the idea that fucking Brazilian fans were ever gonna stick around and tolerate if this team didn't live up to expectations is a myth. And of course, here's where it really helps. You've got Furia now. You watch all those little fucking flares on Reddit change, guys. You watch it. Because there's going to be a lot of people who are MIBR fans who are going to be like, yeah, Fallen's fucking washed up, and but this Furia team who've just got a 5-year fucking sponsorship with Nike because of their association with others, we're going to go over them now. Exciting young team. I mean, don't get me wrong, actually, Furia, they've had a bit of a wobble. This is what happens. You've hit that top 5, and now people respect you and actually prepare for you. So you better have a plan B. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Cold Zero move as well, because it's a nice little segue. After ESL One Cologne, Cold Zero said he didn't want to play anymore for them and basically asked to be benched, which is, again, in esports parlance, he's asking to leave and be sold.
Basically saying, I do not want to play for you in any context. Even though we have a motherfucking world championship right on our door, literally.
And I'm sick of it, man, because I'm sick of players being cunts.
By the way, specifically Brazilian players. How many fucking times is this same core going to say something went wrong and it's everyone else's fault? I don't have 5 players who want to be in the same team for this major. What, for a third time?
Yeah,
for a third time? How many fucking times is this going to happen?
I just
don't
Fallen,
understand. Should we just do this? Should we get the rule book for the major? And in the section it says eligibility of a roster. Should we just leave that blank and then you just tell us a day before the major starts, like whatever we need to write in there to make your team able to play? How can this keep happening? If it's going to happen, at least fucking own up to it and be like, yeah, we have mismanaged, the roster and the result. We should have own up to it if you're going to make the mistakes. It's too many times now. It's like 3 different times.
And someone in the chat has gone, Cold actually offered to play the major, but the team declined, he said, through his own Instagram. Well, first of all, he's
Are you
also...
aware of the concept? Just link that guy to the premise, right? You just have to link him to the cover of the Ricky Gervais movie, The Invention of Lying, and he's going, the invention of what? Doesn't look like anything to me. Fucking hell. How gullible are you?
I mean, put it this way. I mean, even if that is true, the whole problem has arisen because you have basically, ahead of the World Championships, said that you don't want to play. So, I mean, that's
your traditional path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. It's like they're you know what? I tell you what MIBR are. They're the guy who they have their own fucking console, and when you're playing them on the game they own, like they have FIFA on their fucking Mega Drive, and you haven't, right? They're just getting really good at FIFA, and if you lose to them at FIFA, they're like, "Stop complaining, you know, you could play it if you wanted." But then if you're playing some game that you own, they're just like, "Well, I've never played it before, so this, you know, we'll play one game, but this doesn't count." It's like, fuck off. They all count. Like, it's always like this, guys. It's like you're always trying to find some way to invalidate someone else winning the major because your team isn't the best right now.
Yeah. Well, look, and a report came out today that StarLadder have said that because of the rules around replacing players for majors, leaving does not constitute an emergency. So Zeus wouldn't be able to stand in. Zeus, their coach. So I don't even know what that does. Like, does this mean that they've preemptively registered Lucas, or does this mean Cold Zero will have to come back and play for the major anyway, even though, according to Instagram, they already declined it? Like, I don't even understand what the fuck is going on there, because you're not allowed to play 4v5. I mean, like, are we actually staring at a scenario where MIBR are effectively going to forfeit their spot at a major? That's unthinkable, right?
Also, what a way to go out. Like, this is what I'd have to ask. This is the real question, right? Why is that even a premise? Like, surely what happens is you find out from the rules, turns out we can't replace someone at the last minute, you know, we've got to play with it. So then you all just go, well, no problem, because we're all just rational, reasonable human beings who played with each other for many years for a fabulous fucking salary. And so, you know what, guys, even though I have said I, in the long term, don't want to play with you guys, obviously I'll play this last tournament. I'll try like a professional. I hope we win. And if we don't, no hard feelings. Let's all move on like that. Not like a bunch of fucking mean girls out of a movie. Like, I'll never be with that bitch again. Like, what is this? Why is there even a problem after they've had?
It's like us three doing this podcast. We all fucking hate each other. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, secretly we all fucking hate each other. We're all there like cutting each other off, trying to destroy each other's careers. And then once a week, we just come together and we just fucking style it out. You know what I mean? Like, if we can do it, MIBR. I mean,
if you guys just knew, the reason why Rich is always knackered is he has to go and have a 2-hour conversation with Blast after every fucking show.
I know it's rough.
That Thorin, he keeps telling me to bring it all up. It's in his contract. He has to reference him 3 times a show. I don't even want to do it, guys. I'm trying to downplay it, you know. But anyway, can I get in on them Blaster ones? That's my new name. That's a new.
Yeah.
I figured out half of the trigger is just in how obnoxious the slogans and catchphrases are. So there's a new one. Add that to the list. Blaster ones.
So look, here was another thing as well. Taco tweeted out saying, MIBR is an excellent organization and it has provided us with a psychologist who's going to be working with us before the major. I mean, I think it's great. He might have to fucking play.
Yeah. No, his first analysis was, you guys seem to be having an acute case of horse already bolted itis, and there's nothing I can do here. It's terminal, actually. So you maybe should have brought me in, let's see, about 3 years ago. Like, what's this guy going to do? That's like him just coming into some fucked up family where they're like 20 years deep on some like hateful Cold War of like attrition, and at the end they're like, so two sessions of family therapy, you reckon that'll sort us out? I said, no. This is the start of the process, motherfucker.
Yeah, this is nothing we can do. So I mean, really weird to sort of think that this is a psychological problem when, first of all, you got to get your roster in order. You don't have 5 players pulling in the same fucking direction, you know. So the whole MIBR situation is absolute travesty, and as I said, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do for the major. I really don't, but you know, it might. You're caught in 2 worlds, right? Because, like, on the one hand, maybe they have to forfeit, and that's kind of like really embarrassing and unprofessional.
That's bullshit if they have to do that. Come on.
Sure, but then on the other hand, imagine if you have to watch them play.
You know what?
Fuck that.
This might sound harsh, and I'm not entirely sure how I would implement this, so I'll just throw it out as a general idea and not say like the specifics of how it should be implemented, because I'm not sure. But I actually do feel like, you know, in the old days at the beginning of CSGO, one of the things actually famously that ESEA did, which people thought was a bit harsh, was if you played their whole online season and you qualified for the LAN and you said, actually, fuck it, price is too much for the ticket, I'm just not going to bother attending the LAN, they actually sometimes would ban you from the next season, because their logic was like, well, why the fuck did we just play the whole season out? It's the last minute at the whim of you. You know, either we look stupid and we have to invite a team that didn't qualify, or we're just left with one less team and our fucking finals is ruined. I think at this point in time, with how many times these guys, there should be something like that for these guys with a major. So if you cannot field 5 players for the World Championship that only happens twice a year, you are fucking up the tournament. Like, remember, you've got a qualification spot, or it depends where you finish, etc. But like this isn't a good look just professionally for the scene.
Nah, it's terrible, and it's embarrassing for MIBR and the Immortals group. I think if Noah was still part of the organization, this probably wouldn't be happening. But right now, Immortals group are more focused on trying to fucking sneak their way into LCS, via the acquisition of Optic, and selling their fucking Overwatch franchise. So I don't think they actually give too much of a fuck about MIBR. I don't even think it's a passion project anymore. I think it's just like, well, it's there, it's an asset. We'll just let this one ride out.
So you'd think someone called fucking Noah would understand the concept of wiping the slate clean, picking a couple of things that are working out, transporting them to a new setting, and starting over, wouldn't you? You think he'd understand that premise?
That's pretty good. And then, of course, obviously the big talking point is Kiyoshima tweeted out, it was coldzera doing the phase up sign with Nico, which was from an event way back when. But I mean,
his banter is like mildly cunty.
Oh, Kiyo's great for that. Kiyo's great for that. Big fan. But yeah, the reports out there are that actually they're open to it, and it'll probably be Neo that's gonna be going out, and they're gonna go back to Glorious God Emperor and Nico running the show.
Which is, by the way, fucking hilarious, because they just spent all their time explaining how it was a good addition to add Neo, who's bringing structure to the team. Obviously Nico needed to stop giving up and get, and then magically, of course, is coldzera available? Actually, can you have the lock guy change the keys on Neo's apartment and just send him the pink slip in the mail? Like, fucking hell. Like, it's no loyalty in this business, is it? It's mental.
Let's be real, though. I mean, we'll get to this when we talk about FaZe. Neo's not been good enough, has he?
No, of course not. That's why it's hilarious. Richard, how many times? You've personally seen this happen at least 2 or 3 times. So when I made the banter joke about Neo, which, by the way, was a very fair banter, because within the banter, it was where I said, when they got knocked out, I said, after they lost to FaZe, something like, I bet FaZe are glad they got rid of that washed-up X1.6 player.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
The reason it was a good joke is, first of all, it does address the fact Neo was bad. It also kind of admits that Karrigan was in a bad spot as well, and therefore the joke is, but they think to themselves, well, we've got rid of that player, but that obviously fits the next guy they let have their job, basically, and also didn't work for him. Now, here's the problem with this one, right, Rich, is why does Neo clap back there? No, why does Nico clap back there? Nico claps back there, and this is what you have personally seen at least 2 or 3 times. He'll do this where it's like you're not allowed to criticize his shit teammate. You're supposed to pretend his shit teammate's good, and that Nico's and all of them are equally sharing in the success.
Yeah, it's Nico who's going to go out and cut the motherfucker.
But then Nico instantly himself will have that person removed and never for 1 second ever think about them in his life again, or reference them in an interview, or ever say, like, I wish I was still playing with Dennis and Spiddy, or any of the people he's defended. Like, he himself is. It's like he really does believe you are just not entitled to comment on anyone in his team, even when you might even be building the case that makes him get less of the blame. What a weird fellow he is.
Oh, no, mate. It's just arrogance. It's just arrogance. You have to understand it, It's like some people, they can cope with, like, adoration and praise and success and talent and being good. And other people are just mentally not fucking cut out for it at all. And the only time they ever really learn and sort of have a reappraisal is when shit's bad. So when coldzera ends up at some fucking failing team and, can't hit the numbers anymore, or when Nico loses his ability or whatever, and they're having to do the journeyman thing, they'll have a think. But
right,
until
I've just
then,
got something through on the Telegram actually. Told it's from somewhere.
He's
in Denmark.
doing a bit.
Apparently, what's happened is that they didn't want to commit a long-term contract to Neo, because this was just supposed to be sort of like a short little, peppy, intimate kind of a little deal where they just played with him for 1 or 2 events and they kind of, enjoyed it. It was fun, but they didn't want to invest too much for the long term, and basically they didn't want to tell anyone, but Neo had just bought one of the FaZe front row tickets, actually, where you get to play an event for FaZe Clan and in-game lead them. And he didn't want to pay for the Blast LA though. So as a result, he has to go out the lineup, and in comes coldzera. You liked for all that, so you probably didn't get any of that shit, but whatever. It's all still got it on stream. It's all Street Fighter, so just nod and agree. Yes.
Yes, I'm nodding and agreeing. Right, anyway. Let's move on to the next talking point. ENCE was the next one.
Not a good week for people who have been flaming, is it? Not a good week.
No, not really. But I will add. I thought they were very unlucky. Like, first of all, Heroic were a team that, if you've been following their development and where they're at right now, they're liable to steal maps, and they'll always give you a game.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They are fucking the upset crew right now. Just to say some things about them, because obviously, we'll be pushed for time otherwise. The people that have developed there. I mean, first of all, this Blame F. Has been playing really well, and he's obviously the in-game leader as well. Stown, we talked a lot about him, back when we were calling him Starvin Martin or whatever the fuck. Stown has been that, which is how it's properly pronounced.
Yeah, I was told.
Has been doing really, really well. And listen, I always thought this NATO Sapphics was one of these weird journeyman cunts who just fucking have, they just end up playing with all those like weird fucking online face it cheater heroes who eventually end up getting fucking banned from ESEA 2 years after everyone stops talking about them. I thought he was kind of destined to be that kind of fodder, but honestly, he slotted into the team quite nicely.
To be fair, the alias NATO Sapphics does sound like he does play some sort of MMORPG as an exclusively female pixie character.
Somebody explained it, actually. I can't even remember the fucking story. Was there a good reason? No, it's garbage. It's a really shit name. and it's basically along the lines of, it sounds cool. It was pretty terrible. But anyway, yeah, he's fitted into the team quite nicely. And you got the veteran smarts there with Freiburg, Easttag, who I always thought was one of the weaker players in the old Heroic lineup back when they were like really relevant. He this team is, like you say, it's prime upset fodder. They'll always be competitive. I had them taking Nip out, which didn't happen, but it was a pretty close series. It was pretty good. And obviously in best of ones, I think you want to dodge Heroic at a tournament like this, especially if you're Ents. They got this sort of similar play style. And when Mirage came out, I was like a little bit like, oh fuck, So I still had Ent stealing it, but I knew it was going to be a close game. In the end, Heroic bossed it. And then unfortunately for Ents, the way the bracket went, they ended up having to play fucking Vitality, which is like, again, I chose Ents in my predictions to win, but it wasn't like a confident pick. It was a coin toss pick because they've had so many, it's just stylistically, like Vitality will fucking beat Ents
with the bracket
most
they had,
times.
Bearing in mind 3 teams make it out, they were worse going to be the 3rd team. Surely it should have been Astralis, Vitality, and Ents. Those were the 3 ones. There wasn't as much wiggle room. I agree. I had them at least making playoffs, but then again, no one realized both them and Vitality could lose the best of 1. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I felt super sorry for Ents and just the way it panned out, and obviously this led to a lot of people online going, "Well, the format shit." Fucking hell, guys. Like, don't you realize that we have to fucking, we have to have a way of speeding the tournament up a little bit so we get to an end. And best of ones on day 1 is how it goes down. You don't want to be in a knockout against a potentially good team in a best of 3. Don't lose your best of 1. That's just how it's got to be. And people were complaining about this fucking format purely on what happened to Ents. And I think that's stupid. It's like, haven't you been watching what's been happening this year with garbage format? Do you want to see a garbage format? Tune in 4 days. Because the blast's happening again. But anyway, yeah, I did feel really sorry for them. I don't think this is part of an Ents decline, right? I don't think this is part of like an Ents problem. I think this is like super bad luck. This isn't an MIBR situation. You shouldn't judge Ents based on going out last place in Cologne, except to say they probably should have won that best of 1, but it's a best of 1. And maybe they could have beat Vitality, but it's Vitality. They're fucking kryptonite. Just super unlucky. And I think next tournament, you'll see Ents bounce back and play really well.
No, I agree. The thing is, the 2 matches they played, the first one against Heroic, unfortunately, I think they mismanaged the veto on that one because actually, as soon as I saw Mirage, I was like, there's actually a chance for Heroic to win this one. Like, that's not Ents' best map. It's a good one, but I think they maybe made a mistake, just as I think Vitality made a mistake playing Nip on DOS too. Same shit.
Yeah.
You could lose that game, and you indeed did. And then in the Vitality series, listen, they still won a map of Vitality. It's not bad. They're a very, very good team. And then you add in, I also personally think I'll have to see how this plays out. If I had to pick a team who's going to get hit a bit by that org nerf, I think I'd probably pick Ents as one of the squads because I always saw them as a squad that got by on great CT positioning, stuff like that. I think the difference is someone for me like X7, where he might have gotten the second kill when someone chases him when he has an org. if he just has an M4 plate, he probably just kills the first guy and dies after hitting like 2 bullets to the next guy. That can be a little bit of a difference. But that wouldn't account for coming last. Like, I think if you put them in a different tournament with a different bracket draw, they would maybe be top 4 still, but they would have made the playoffs. So I agree. I'm not reading too much in this. I think maybe their fans maybe overhyped them a little bit, but not even that much. They were still a very, very good team.
Yeah, you have to understand that in a field this thick and fucking high quality, there was always going to be some big names like crash out. Just the nature of the beast, you know. It's all the best teams, and Ents were that team this time around. But I don't think
this was also, remember, the most stacked tournament of the year. So yeah, again, if things go badly, you go out very quickly.
Yeah. So you know, nothing to worry about there. Sergey was still playing well as well. Watching him go against Zywoo was a fucking treat. So yeah, not too much to worry about for Ents. Now the other storyline I think that we should touch upon at this juncture is the Furia one that I alluded to earlier. You know, this is a team, young team, very exciting. You know, me and Duncan are fans. We like what they're doing. But the last couple of tournaments they've been at, you know, this has been the kind of awakening, the reckoning. Like, where are you going to go? You know, we've had all the news about the 5-year contracts. Everyone says it's ridiculous, negative headlines. We had that got kind of offset with the whole, hey, Nike is sponsoring us for 5 years. Complete coincidence, I suppose, that the number 5 was in it to sort of make it turn over in your brain that, oh, yeah, it's actually a super long-term project with a super long-term deal. As if a team in CS is going to stay together for 5 years. As if we're still playing CSGO in 5 years.
A lot of givens that aren't givens in that deal.
Exactly. But yeah, obviously, I think with Furia, you know, they did have to bump into Na'Vi, and that was a very close series. Honestly, that was like a 16-12 or 16-14. They were just a little bit lacking there. I'd probably say most notably, you know, fucking Able J kind of didn't have a great tournament. People in the chat were spamming disabled Jay. That wasn't particularly cool.
Reasonable.
But yeah, you got a lot of fucking hate for some of his performances. Yuri was a little bit off too. But honestly, I think, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like the Furia from a month ago probably could have snuck in a map, or maybe even took a series off a Na'Vi with a new player themselves that didn't look great at this event. We'll get to Knifegate very soon. But I mean, other than beating Renegades, you know, Furia looked a little bit like they'd been found out at this event. So I'm hoping they can bounce back, because it would be a shame if it was like some mercurial flash in the pan. I don't think it is. It's too early to say that. But again, they got tuned up by NRG on Nuke, which Furia are a very good Nuke team. And then obviously they couldn't take Nuke off Na'Vi, and they did have a 16-14 in there. I think Na'Vi looked vulnerable this tournament, despite as far as they got. So yeah, I don't know about where Fury is at right now, and whether or not they can continue to develop. I guess we'll find out.
Well, one of the other laughable things about the team signing the 5-year contracts is also the notion they'd want those 5 players for 5 years. Like, let's say this team does stay together under this org, keeps playing, proves itself it's good, you know, has a bunch more playoff appearances. You'd probably want to change the 5 players anyway. Like, I actually think as a team, one thing they're going to have problems with is having enough people who are good enough at fragging in the game. Like, the style's interesting. Some of the map pool's quite unique for an upcoming team. But as you say, they got to play their best map, Nuke, a whole bunch of times at this tournament. And if you are a team that's a lower team and you get your best map against the big team, you're supposed to get the upset. That's supposed to be when they have to respect you. Think about when Gambit first came on the scene, winning on Cobblestone and Overpass. They made people respect them. By the time that major came, they were a legit squad then, cause they'd used that stepping stone of having like the one map you have to ban against them, and then they go to another. Like Furia, their problem is, I think a lot of the other players and teams look at them and think, I'm not that scared about them. I doubt they'll do what they did a few months ago. So it's on them now to actually stabilize where they are in the scene. Otherwise, yeah, they're going to fade away.
Sorry, just arguing with a fucking moron in chat.
It's all right.
I'm finding myself more and more prone to do that at the moment. Jamie267095 said, "What? Na'Vi don't look good. They only lost to Liquid. You do understand that, like, if a football team wins 1-0 every fucking game, tedious, grindy defensive performances, like the fucking George Graham's Arsenal team that basically won games because they had the best back four in the fucking league, right? You do understand you can look bad and win, you fucking cretin. Do you get that? No, you don't get that because you are fucking brain dead. Get the fuck out of my chat.
Also, did
Fucking
only have
idiot.
like the best player in the world.
I
Maybe
think it's
player for-
harsh. Yeah, exactly. Imagine looking bad and scraping wins while you got Simple playing for you, dropping 60 fucking frags every map. Obviously, they look bad. You bell end. Anyway, so yeah, we'll move on from Fury. We'll get to Na'Vi and we'll get to Knifegate because this is a fucking juicy topic of conversation. It actually demonstrated people's willingness to move into fucking binary thinking.
Yep.
Because right, and I put this point out. My point was this: all these people were hating Simple and going, "Oh, well, you just cost us the series against Team Liquid." It's true. He did effectively.
Yep.
Although, you know, if they'd won the first map, maybe Liquid stepped it up in the second.
Yeah, maybe it would have played different.
Yeah.
I even said that to Liquid guys. Like,
Yeah, no, I remember you saying it on the show.
2-0, you know, because I just think myself, I would have played differently if I'd lost the first map. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, it kind of did. They almost won 2-0. I see.
Yeah, exactly. But then, right? Okay, they wouldn't have been in the series if Simple wasn't playing it. There wouldn't have been.
That's also
there
true.
Wouldn't
He was fucking sick that map.
Yeah.
Except for that moment, basically.
And so if you're the type of person who goes, well, fuck Simple,
even in
he cost us the
overtime,
game.
I believe in overtime he had like 13 kills or something just in overtime. So it's not like he just gave up after that, did he? He kept fucking trying.
No, so it's like, listen, yes, Simple did cost him it with that knife. That was a needless flamboyance. And fair play to him for not trying to style it out and say, oh, the knife was the most efficient play in that situation or whatever, when it clearly wasn't. He didn't. He owned his shit. He shouldn't have done it. But he dropped fucking over 40 kills, right? And if we want to start talking about mistakes that cost rounds, why do you cunts never talk about all the times Zeus gets fucking wrecked with a flashbang out, or he can't win a duel when someone's looking away from him, or fucking, you know, some of the terrible performances Boomich had, right? Why do we never talk about that? Because those are mistakes that cost you a round, right? So if we were to line up everyone's mistakes that cost you rounds, Simple's mistakes are probably 1 or 2. He did make another one, I think, in OT where he did an aggressive peek needlessly. Zeus will have about 10. So I don't understand what the fucking point here is. Basically, what they were doing is, it's like, okay, Argentina lost the game 6-5, right? And Messi scored 5 goals, and he could have had a 6th, but he tried to do, for a double hat trick, but he tried to do a clever little back heel when he could have just tapped it into the bottom corner, right? But the fucking centre-back, I don't even know who plays centre-back for Argentina anymore, honestly, but the centre-back scored 3 own goals, and the fucking right-back fucking gave away a penalty, and instead you're going to go and hate on Messi. You silly cunts. Think about that. Think about what you're doing. So, yeah, Otamendi, there you go. Yeah, he is fucking trash. So, yeah, it was a ridiculous thing to focus on. But again, it's not that anyone's wrong in the argument.
No, there's some truth to it.
Yeah, he shouldn't have done it. Of course he shouldn't have done it. I'd be just fucking like camping. I'd be livid.
Like, the way I always describe it is I always say it's the flaw of like unduly linear thinking that like everything must go in a certain order and it could only have happened that way. And therefore, if this one thing was different, it would have. No, the whole point is, like, when you look at the game Simple was having before and after that particular moment, like, if you want to make a list of why did we lose this game, right? In terms of the fact that he could have ended the game, yes, his mistake would be high up, but there would be loads of other non-Simple related mistakes that would be like, well, who fucked up this strat here? Why was this position like, why was he even in a 1vx on this scenario? Obviously, even on that round itself, it was then very poorly played out by the rest of his teammates that they made them lose. I mean, he started as a 1v4 and then he ended up obviously clutching it. So I agree with you. You certainly shouldn't ignore that. Like, it wasn't a bad mistake. It would have literally won 1 map minimum. But in terms of the rest of it, there's plenty of problems in Na'Vi, guys. They're not a fucking perfect team, except that their superstar doesn't carry all the time. And as an overall team, I definitely agree with the sentiment you said on Twitter, which is like, if your basic win condition is the best player ever must play like the best player ever right now as the best player ever in every match, you haven't got a fucking top team. You've got a team that is ridiculous, that as a premise should not exist.
Yeah, and look, let's talk about Navi's progress through the tournament, because again, that fucking moron that was in the chat was trying to like big up that this was like a real good performance because they only lost to Liquid. Right. Let's talk about the best of one against Mouse Sports, which they absolutely did not deserve to win. You had Simple again dropping 32 kills. They got super lucky right at the end when it mattered with a timing from a push from Electronic where he did the trigger discipline and was able to get those 2 kills. And there was some serious mistakes from Mouse Sports that basically gave away the series. Mouse Sports looked good for a win against that. I think Karrigan was a little bit sort of like, I don't even understand how we've lost that map. Then you have Knifegate in Liquid, which fair enough. Maybe they could have beat Liquid, right? Sure. Maybe they should have beat Liquid. Didn't happen. Got to wonder about that self-destructive element. But again, if you're looking at Simple in that series and you're saying a man who dropped 84 frags in 3 maps is the problem, get the fuck out of my game. You never talk again. Never speak again. Because, you had fucking Zeus down there, barely scraping a respectable scoreline, as fucking per. And, Flamey, Boomich, Electronic, they have their moments, but they never string their moments together. Like, do you remember the Electronic we were talking about was the second best player in the world, possibly? Like, he's not around anymore, guys. That's just real talk. He's still very good. But there was a point where he was doing interviews going, yeah, I think I could be better than Simple Me.
Yep.
Fuck
off. That was a real topic.
Well, it was at the time, but fuck off. Is it relevant now?
Oh, no. That's why people have to realize. It's like, if you're late to CS and you've just now been watching Simple ticking his mega, just imagine he was doing all this and even at times better, and it never stopped for a year into the past or more. Like, that's the sort of heat of this motherfucker's on.
Yeah.
He's not just good. He's like unbelievable. It's like, again, it's like someone said at the end of the tournament, someone linked, because everyone was saying, because he had a couple of games that stick in everyone's mind. Like, he had a map against, I think it was the last map actually against Liquid. He wasn't that great in it, Everyone was going like, it was a bad tournament for him. You go look at the stats, mate. I think he was still like 3rd in the overall tournament. Right?
Oh, no, wild.
Some utterly outrageous. Like, I'd love for that to be my bad day's performance if I was a pro player.
Yeah. So then you had the rematch against Mouse Sports, overtime win on Inferno.
Another really close game.
Yeah, right. Really, really close. Then they get battered on Dust 2, and then you get the rematch on Train from earlier, and it just looked like Na'Vi just had done their homework a little bit more. They were a little bit more crisp. But what was notable about that series was that was the one time I think this tournament Electronic did do simple things and simple numbers. So they won that out, right? But again, very losable series. They get through by the grace of overtime. Then they play NIP. NIP, I don't know what was going on at this tournament with them. It kind of felt they were like something and nothing. Like they were winning games that you could sort of vaguely see them doing well in. And then, they will also fucking kind of like, as soon as they came up against a real opposition, they just wilted a little bit. So I don't really think you can talk too much about Na'Vi NIP. Let's talk about the Furia games, a 16-12, 16-14 series, super close. So, and then obviously they get banged out 2-0 by Liquid again, 2 16-12s. And Simple didn't have a God tier series that time. And it was Boomich that had to do it. So, again, we saw evidence of, what happens when Simple goes missing against the team Liquid? It turns out they're not relevant. They're not close at all. So Na'Vi, for me, they were the worst team that got the deepest run at this event.
Absolutely.
I am not convinced. Yeah, I am not convinced by this Na'Vi lineup. And it's the same old, same old. They're relying on Simple to drag them through games. And usually by the time it gets to a final or a semi-final, Simple is fucking burnt the fuck out from having to do heroics all event. Plus, there was an appreciable change. After Knifegate, Simple wasn't doing pushes and wasn't playing as aggressive. Go watch the demos. Simple, someone had clearly said something to him and about, look, why is it always got to be about you? You cost us that series against Liquid or something. I can imagine Zeus fucking teeing off on him big time because that's just how Zeus rolls. And he did play a little bit more within a team structure and a little bit less flamboyant and a little bit less aggressive. I don't think you ever want to put that in Simple's head. I don't think you ever want to say to Simple, listen, you need to stop doing simple things and start doing team things. Fuck that, Na'Vi, man. The only reason you're even talked about in world-class Counter-Strike is because of him. Take him out the team. Put your money where your fucking mouth is. Get Dozier, get somebody else in, and let's see how well you
He has tended to come back fairly quick. I will say,
can do at a tournament. Banged out loud.
There he is. Banged out lands.
Banged out
Banged
loud.
out lands. I will say, if you look up Zeus's stats for these events, it was absolute shit, but kind of shit I'm used to at this point in time, innit?
Right. So anyway, the point still stands that basically Navi's win condition against top tier opposition is for simple to go thermonuclear. And I think if that is your win condition, then you're not really a team. You're not really a team. It's basically like, simple and four fucking randos at that point. And it's just he can do it. He can carry you through a game. But they need to get better. Like more and more of that team have to take personal responsibility for stepping up. And until they do, I think they're not going to win as many trophies as they probably should have had by now. Keep in mind, they were the defending champions at the ESL Cologne as well, because of that ridiculous run that they had. And, once they got deep, playing terribly, I kind of felt like, oh, well, they might make it all the way to the final, could even win the whole fucking thing again. But it didn't happen.
No, the problem I have with this one is that whole angle that some people take. You might have seen I even had a fan logic where I just did it because it was fucking hilarious. Is there's always someone who their logic goes like this. Maybe simple trying to get all those frags is the problem. Maybe he should have played around argument, which is literally like saying why did Messi score those 7 goals? Maybe if he scored 3 and then perfectly set up again, shut the fuck up. What do you want about? If you ever see a team like that, right? I've always said this. Why do people act as though it's an everyday thing for someone to play on a bad team, play like a god and carry them? It isn't. It's the rarest thing in our entire game. Yeah. You don't see it at LANs. Yes, you might see some motherfucker like Xantares do it on the internet every now and then against tier 2 opposition. Yes, Jim might do it when he's playing online games or tier 2 opposition. But to do it at the level these guys are doing, in the quarters, the semis of a massive tournament, playing the other best teams in the world, it's unthinkable. So at that point in time, I find it hard to critique a player like that too much, because even if I actually see him observably playing selfishly, what fuck else do you want? It's like Kobe Bryant used to have a brilliant answer when people used to say he was too greedy with the ball. He'd say, what? So I'm supposed to pass to a guy I know is going to miss the shot twice as often, pray he makes it, and then when he doesn't, it's still my fault anyway, because remember, by that logic, whether you win the game,
he's the star player.
It's in that scenario, if my only situation to win that I know I can rely on is me making that motherfucking shot, I'll just take the shot myself and live and die with the results. I get that mentality, because again, simple isn't the GM and Navi. He can't decide who goes and who stays. He can't say, guess what, Zeus? It's probably your fault you had a fucking unbelievably shit tournament at this one. So I can't go with that one. On the other side of the equation, I do see some positive signs here. Not all in the server, though. Boomich having that nice last map of the tournament was certainly a little highlight on the way out the door. But I'd say this. One thing in an interview that I saw that they did with Simple for HLTV.org that was a very promising sign was, because I was thinking the same thing a lot of people were, why Boomich? If I'd have made a little short list, he wouldn't be top of my list there. Because he was there, but I'll finish the point. Basically, in this interview, Simple said it was actually Blade, who, if you remember, Blade's been picked as I think his name is something like, director of something. He's not technically as the coach, because they still have to lie to us and everyone that Kane actually does that job, as opposed to be paid to stand behind Zeus and say as little as possible, because otherwise how the fuck could you ever stand someone like that being around you who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about? Because as far as I can tell, it's the way they operate. So Blade is the director of esports or whatever the fuck. But he said in the interview that basically he had scouted 3 options for them for the team, and that Boomich was one of them. He'd watched loads, that he watched 100 hours of demos of, to see that he was someone who could fit the role. And supposedly the idea was he was going to be able to do the things that Edward already did, and then things that he couldn't, be more aggressive as an entry player or whatever. Now, again, I don't know how much I saw at this one event. It's the first ever LAN we've seen them play with the guy. But that's actually a promising sign, because I at least like the concept. Someone is properly scouting an opponent and other players, that someone's trying to figure out what Navi needs, what can you add. There's a lot of positives in that, whether this move ends up being the right one or not, and who knows yet.
So I actually heard all of that, even though I apparently
Discord does that sometimes, by the way. Sometimes we
the audio's coming through, but
fair enough.
But no, I totally agree with that, and it's we keep talking about when Zeus is going to go and when things are going to change. Like, I don't know. I think Na'Vi are going to look back at this period where it's like you've had the best player. Like, I don't think Simple's going to be like able to sustain this form in 2020.
I don't know if anyone can. It's
no,
ridiculous.
because we've never seen a player do that before. Cold Zero was the first to go back to back, crazy style. So we'll wait and see. But I think Na'Vi have let a lot of trophies go by sort of a stubbornness. You know, the length of time they stuck with Edward, and now they're trying to groom Boomich to be a fucking replacement for Zeus for some reason. I don't understand it, but whatever. Anyway, a little bit about NIP. I thought they punched above their weight at this tournament. Some observations I had were Rez played really, really well. Continues to be the best thing about the NIP team. In my opinion, only because long term, obviously he's younger. You expect him to do a bit more, and Forrest is eventually going to come at the end of his career, even though he's still playing incredibly well. Get Right had a little bit of a step up. Really weird, like out of nowhere, he actually had some very good statistical performances that were like way above where he'd been, at the level he's been at, which is why we've all been talking about him retiring.
By the way, can we just address that? Because
I was going to. I know exactly what you're going to say.
This is a show that's about being real, right?
Yeah,
Not
I know
just
what you're
selling
say.
everyone a line of shit. So here, I'm going to say it because I'm the only one who fucking can say it, but this is the only place we can discuss this real topic. Here's the topic.
Yeah.
One, he is not dead. He is still alive. He is fully the same person. He will probably, as you saw, even play professional Counter-Strike, or maybe he'll transfer to another team, or maybe he'll still be a nib. Secondly, right, even though I agree when it's a truly legendary player like that, even I get a little bit like sentimental and I start thinking things we all do. Why can't they play longer? Isn't it a shame people get worse and they can't just stay great players like they would in sports for 10 years? Yeah, I think the same things. But the problem is this. Pick the timing, will you? It wasn't his last game. It wasn't his last tournament. Like, people did it. Like, you only do that when it's definitely going to happen. This just happened to me actually in tennis, right? What happened was Andy Murray had a press conference last year where
I saw where he broke down because of the injury.
He had to it was beginning of this year. He had to tearfully admit that because of his injury, he didn't think he would be able to continue much as a pro and he might have to retire. But because he thought, well, I might have to retire. He thought, fuck it, I'll just get this surgery that everyone's getting on their hip at the moment. He got it, and basically he found out, actually, you know what? Fuck, this isn't the end. I can still move a bit of this. Actually, maybe I can give it a go. And he's back already. So the problem with that is, it's like if you give someone some massive like eulogy and some great parting moment, and everyone cries, and you still live, and then they go, you know what? Actually, maybe we'll just keep going. It's like, well, what was all that for then? Like, what was all the outpouring? Are we just going to do this all again in 6 months? Are we going to rewind the clock totally, bring out a fucking birthday cake, relight all the candles, and just go happy birthday? Like, no. We just did it all, guys.
Yeah, listen, this is what I mean. This isn't Get Right's fault.
No.
Because obviously, because Chris is obviously saying like, guys, like, I'm winding down. I'm getting old. I'm coming to the end of my time in NIP, probably. We're looking at new options. We're looking at new ideas. And probably going to be retiring, from this team, maybe from playing at all. He's done what he has to do, which is he is managing the expectations of his fans, of NIP fans, staying in line with what NIP want to be public information. Like, Get Right's doing everything nailed on.
Absolutely.
What happens is, unfortunately, tournaments become so desperate for iconic moments and viral moments and storylines that what they do is they push things, like you say, when the timing's off. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great moment to see Chris get emotional, talking about his career, saying, I'm not going to retire, I'm still going to stay around. That's good and new information and all that.
Also might literally be the last stage match. Sure, you can do that angle. Yeah, for all I know.
Yeah, sure. But then you've got the problem, like you say. I mean, you might be playing at the major, makes that anticlimactic now.
We've shot our load on it, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. And ESL, it's ESL who've done that. It's ESL who've done that, honestly. It's like ESL in their sort of desire to get those moments, like we talked about it before where Carmack gave that fucking speech and stuff. And it's like, listen, we're out here singing your motherfucking praises. Like, we think what you're doing is great. We think ESL 1 Cologne is a jewel in the crown. Duncan's on fucking stage holding up a sign saying this should be a major, change my fucking mind and all this stuff.
chance for you guys to get some sort of between the conversation, but very intimate, like kind of a bit playful, the formula, you never quite know if we're going to actually have a conversation or if it's going to get completely broken up. And also there's less people available to be on the short ones, but as a result, you get more of an intimate one-on-one with me. I'm talking to the camera. I'm addressing you directly. You're all part of the Blast red zone behind the scenes access. Couldn't fit enough seats within the actual staged arena section of the show. Thank you all for paying your premium ticket for that, which is whatever the normal ticket price should be times 4. And how do we eventually make money off this? Why was that at the bottom of the receipt? Anyway, he's back. He's back.
Yeah,
he's back.
I'm back. So anyway, yeah. So all I was saying there about the Get Right situation is, like this eagerness to have this fucking moment. Basically sort of like ruins the reality of the storyline, which is when he does go, it is going to be fucking sad. And let's do it at the right time. Let's give him a proper send-off, because now we've had the subreddit flooded with front pages, of clips and moments and anecdotes. And I nearly got sucked into it. I was going to sit down and write up a thing. And then I was like, wait, he's not retiring. I'm seeing him at the next fucking event. What am I doing? I stopped it. So I thought that was ridiculous. But here's the thing I did want to talk about, because I think this is important. Plopsky was the young player that they brought in. Definitely looks like he needs a little bit longer, because I don't think he had a great tournament, and he didn't impress me. So what do you guys make of that?
I'll tell you something you might appreciate.
What's up?
This is an example of something from the green room that technically wasn't said like in a public setting, but I just don't think the person would care or be like just a classic example of guy tall.
I'll tell you this now.
Get the button ready.
Social alignment, right?
Yeah.
So this is the sort of thing I will do. We were sat there, and when they showed Nip playing, and we were watching it all on the TV in the green room, right? When they show the profile picture of them that they've taken in like a professional setup of just the headshot, to show like who's on the teams. I turn to the others and just go, that Plopsky's a bit weird looking, isn't he? And then Henry goes, I've always thought he looked like me. And I just went, fair enough.
Get fucking wrecked.
Henry. Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, get fucking wrecked.
Fair. They both be true.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Henry's unconventionally good looking. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
But yeah, do you think Plopsky's gonna blossom into the talent that they hope he's gonna be?
Obviously,
is he a good prospect in that sense?
Obviously,
it's too early to judge him just on this, but he was really off the pace.
Oh, here's the thing. He's under constrained circumstances. They themselves have even admitted this isn't the final lineup. We're testing stuff out as they say with the whole Get Right thing. Sure. Isn't he going to retire? We don't really know. They've used that phrase transitioning out or whatever. Like, who knows what the fuck? That could be 6 months. That could be 1 month. You don't know. They're trying to purposely leave it vague, guys, so that if he suddenly picks up his form, they can say, oh no, that is more of a long-term process. Where we will just bring that, they're trying to change shit on the fly to make it all sound good. Fucking other people in the Nordics, that seems to be all the trend at the moment. So anyway, I thought Plopsky was shit at this tournament. I thought he played pretty badly. I thought even in terms of some of the moves he made some bad mistakes. I will say it's very, very trying circumstances to be put in a team like that. You're basically on trial. You're trying to sort of play for a spot that you already have, but at the same time, they're not fully committing to giving you it. Again, you said you're supposed to be the future of the game, etc. I don't know if he had the role for that. I'd have to really sit down and look at it, because I think it's probably a tough one in that sense. So I didn't see it as a good move thus far. But then again, Nip has way more problems than just him. Yeah,
totally. I mean, like I say, it's a very weird open-ended situation they put themselves in. I don't know why they've done it that way. I don't know why, but like you say, Plopsky, people are he's unsure about what's going on. Get Right, everyone's unsure about what's going on. And then, of course, the question remains, well, if Get Right does go and you keep Plopsky on, how do we, who else are we getting in the team?
And then wasn't it already leaked that Golden would play at the major or something for them?
Yeah, well, that's already happening, but that's not a long-term thing, is it? I mean,
at this point in time, who the fuck knows anymore, right? Everyone's just like, oh, I'm making this very questionable move, but don't worry.
Listen.
Why you do it then?
You know who I think? Really, they should fucking, as soon as he's ready to come back, go get Flusher.
Not Definitely. A bad move at this point in time.
No, 100. I'm telling you, 100%. That would fucking boost this team in a way that Plopsky ain't gonna. that if Plopsky sticks around,
Plus,
and
here's what you do.
Yeah.
To resolve any possible weirdness in the team, you bring him in, you say, sit down, please, Flusher. Someone in the team, maybe Peter, walks over, they quietly lock the door, they bolt it, and they just sit him down and they just all say, listen, we're going to ask you this one time only. Just give us an answer, please. Please be thorough about it. And after that, we'll agree never to speak about this ever again. You were definitely cheating in 2014. And then whatever he says at that point in time, you look him dead in his motherfucking eyes, his crazy hillbilly eyes that on the one hand just confuse me, that this intelligence lurks within there, this spark of the divine that somehow expresses itself through what looks like cheating at times, but sometimes was probably legit. You also did some good shit on land. And then you decide, you go with your gut feeling. Was he telling the truth? If you tell him the truth and you really believe that he did cheat and get away with it, but what a fucking G. That's a hell of a story right there, isn't it? Then you just let him in the team. If, on the other hand, you think he's lying about being legit and that his hand just used to like crank over halfway, split, touch the right, left control key or something, and then that would make his fucking hit across there, go on their head and just kill him. Like, if you believe that, then more power to you. That's all I'm saying. So it's a very simple experiment to run.
I mean, I always thought that, because there was that clip, wasn't there, where people took a Freiburg clip out of context, and it was when Freiburg was talking in that documentary, going, "There's this Swedish player, and we all call him Armstrong."
Yes,
after Lance Armstrong, and a lot of people thought he was, and he said, "I'll never play in a team with him," and people thought it was Flusher, but it wasn't. It was Schneider, right? He was talking about.
There you go. I think so. I could be right.
Yeah, what was that?
I think you could be right. I'll just keep saying that until he's back and you can cut on that. I think you could be right, Rich. Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, thanks for admitting it. So Flusher just wanted to he wanted to get rid of the boundaries in the game, the walls that divide us. And he wanted to get the fans. So he wanted to see what the fans can see. They can see an X-ray vision all the time. He wanted to see that so he could create a better on-show experience for them. So the new Blast production zone tickets will give you a headset and you will actually talk to the cameraman on the stage and you will call the shots that you want to see, because there's only going to be you on his mouse hand. And it does cost $400,000 that ticket, and you must be from the United Arab Emirates. But if you can do that, then you too can go to Blast LA.
I'm looking forward to it. Right, listen. Right, this is getting silly. Yeah. I'm going to restart. I'm going to restart the router.
Shall I go
just refresh things?
Yeah, I'm going to restart the router. So play some songs, have a break.
Right, listen, you're normal,
cocaine or whatever
refresh, you do. Respawn, relocate.
Yeah, right. And I'll see you in a bit. Yeah. All right. Let's see if it holds up this time. If not, I mean, we'll just try and push through, because we're over an hour in, so it'd be silly to stop the show and try and do it at another time. We'll just let Thorin fill, I guess.
Luckily, we got a lot of Patreon questions this week.
Yeah.
So
if for any reason I duck
at least
out,
they're fucking doing something finally.
What do you know?
So if for any reason I do duck out, we'll just let Duncan run. Anyway, okay, other storylines that are worth talking about, I think. Let's get into the FaZe stuff. FaZe obviously got knocked out of the tournament pretty early on. 9th to 12th, not great.
Completing that fucking storyline though, weren't they?
Yeah. And look, I've got to say it. I think if you look at the statistics overall, I think Neo is the worst performer.
By the way, this is an example of why I find it so egregious that Nico would choose that moment to try and clap back at me criticizing his team or his teammates. Is you literally took a bunch of fucking greatest of all time candidates and just lost to what a year ago would have been an FPL mixed team that would be randomly assigned by the system. That's what you just did. So the idea that like you can't even after that game just be like, you know what, Carrigan, I'll give it up to you this time, mate. You are a motherfucking legend. And even though maybe we couldn't have played together any longer, I appreciate that you did bring a lot to the team that maybe I didn't know. None of that, of course. No sort of, fucking grace or kind of like an understanding of PR even, that you can win a few fans over,
No, of course not. No.
Completely just denial of the entire problem into immediately trying to make a roster move, even though there never was a problem. And we thank you for your service, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, he was actually the worst performing player. So the bottom 5
I
players.
think he was the worst rated in the whole tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom 5 players, right? So fifth from bottom is someone from MVP PK, HSK. Then it was Vinny from Furia. That's quite telling in and of itself. And then really we're going to get to the holy trinity of people we talk about on this show for a variety of reasons. Then it was Exist, Dennis, and Neo. So Neo was below Dennis from Big. Like, it's just like, come on, dog. Like, listen, I said this, I love the guy. I think there's a place for him always in the sport. But playing for FaZe, like, put it this way, he can still go to tier 2 tournaments with any team and
Sure.
bang people out and wreck them. You can't you get found out at ESL1 Cologne. You're going to get found out. You're going to get found out because the caliber's too good. The field's too good.
Like, what did people expect? This really was like a major. What you thought FaZe was going to be the playoffs? Doing what? Against who? Beating who? Like, look how many teams there are. Even if they'd have won that game against Mouseport, they'd have to beat Na'Vi in a best of 3. Like, say what you like about Na'Vi. They're going to take care of fucking FaZe Clan right now. Let's be real. So, yeah, they're delusional if they thought this team was really going somewhere long term. It was one last roll of the dice is what it was. And by the way, if they now end up looking out and getting fucking coldzera to join their team, I hope they don't imagine they like mentally changed and learned things about the game. No, they just added coldzera. Like, what a mad lifeline that'll be if it ends up coming.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see realistically like how anybody can think that the current FaZe lineup with its performances is like actually a decent team. I mean, in terms of the rankings, they're 6th. That's artificially high.
They were one of the few teams that I do think benefited from the others being missing from the tournament because they still went to them all, mates. They would still make the playoffs at them all, and then somehow eke out a ranking slot, like you said, just by default, basically.
Like, FaZe is no way the 6th best team in the world when you consider that Na'Vi are ranked 7th. There's no fucking way. Furia are ranked 8th. Mousesports are ranked 10th. Well, Mousesports have beaten them fucking twice now. So, I mean, I would back Mousesports over FaZe, and 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10.
And it ain't just Neo either. Some of the other players in that team are completely out of form as well. They look like a mess of a squad. They're like kind of in the MIBR position fully. It's funny that coldzera wants to go out of the fucking frying pan into the fire in that sense. They're
sure, and the elephant in the room is that, okay, if Neo's the in-game leader, sure, we give him a pass. The elephant in the room is Olaf. He's been fucking shit. He's been such a shadow of the player that we know he is and we know he can be. And people always tunnel in on Rain. I don't understand it. People are like saying, Rain is still one of their statistically better performers. Like, if he's in the middle of the pack, you can't say drop fucking Rain. You can't say that. I
think here's the problem. Because Olaf did reinvent himself to come into FaZe where everyone was saying he wasn't set up with the resources and he was the one helping the others create all the game, blah, blah, blah. Because basically that's the ultimate social validation from pros. All the other pros are going, no, but he plays a role and, whatever you can't see, maybe that's the secret shit he's doing that's great. It just means that he's now ascended to the status. Congratulations, Olaf. Apparently winning 2 majors wasn't enough, but you have now finally become CSGO royalty. And as long as you don't literally feed the game every fucking round, it will be someone else who will get blamed in your team. And if you can sleep at night knowing you're one of the worst players in your team and that you're not doing your job, but not get the blame, well, you can have a nice life off that. Personally, that would degrade my respect level a little bit. I'd hope someone who's a legendary player would at least kind of know when the writing's on the wall that, I'm kind of not helping things in this team,
There's a guy in the chat right now saying, I agree, Rain shouldn't be dropped, but hell, he has a 0.97 rating on HLTV. You do realize that RPK, who everyone was saying had a fucking renaissance, right, had like 0.93, right? So what the fuck are you talking about? Right, Rain is right. Olaf, by the way, is worse than that. He's 0.7 something or 0.8 something for this fucking tournament. So if Neo was the absolute worst player by some distance, he's not even close to Dennis on stats. That's fucking shocking. So if you're going to pick on Rain, I don't think you understand what the problems are in this team. And the problems are, remember, Rain was the guy that was never meant to be in this team. And then he turned into the bedrock of the team. He was the guy who would do everything for everybody else while also putting in solid performances. He could clutch out. He could frag out. Back at a time when Olaf was having fucking personal problems, and we were having ab standings like Croman. You know, where the fuck's that motherfucker at right now? And they were winning tournaments with them, and they were doing that because of fucking Rain. He was always the key. Sure, Guardian's the guy that will fucking turn up and roll back the years with an AWP. He ain't going to be doing that much longer, guys, by the way. Hate to break it to you. Guardian's winding down the clock, right? FaZe totally missed their fucking window. And if you ever fucking put that on Rain, fuck you. You know nothing about this game. There's no way. Like, I admit he's had a drop-off in form. If you were expecting Rain to be the motherfucker that was carrying FaZe with that all-star lineup, what fucking planet were you living in? Like, straight fucking smoking DMT every fucking day
ridiculous.
for breakfast. You know what I mean? Like, Guardian did well at the CSL 1 Cologne, but like what I'm talking about is, remember the Guardian that would win you motherfucking games? That Guardian would just rock up, drop fucking 40, 3Ks every fucking round, his bomb site completely fucking locked down, going head to head, dueling with AWPs. He doesn't do that anymore. Now he's just really solid, really consistent. You wouldn't take Guardian over Kenny S right now. You wouldn't take Guardian over ZywOo right now. You know, you wouldn't take him over Simple, obviously, right now. He's not even a top 3 AWPer in the world.
Think about earlier in the show when we were talking about how people maybe tunneled too much on a bad round, a bad game. Overall, not as great tournament from Simple. There's the difference between Guardian and top players right now. For the top players, we discuss, are they actually losing top player status due to not having a specific good game that we demand they play well in happen? If you're Guardian or Olaf or a bunch of players who are legacy names, some of the MIBR guys, it's the other way around. You let everyone criticizes you correctly because you do badly. And then if you're the fanboy, you're desperate for that one good game they have. And you go, no, look at this. Breaking news. Guardian has good game, drops 20 kills in a match, read more than 11. It's like, well, you wouldn't need to say that if it was like he was a top player, would he? Would be doing that all the game long. Look at these motherfuckers, like that graphic we'll talk about later, I've no doubt, with ZywOo, where he's just like, I am a literal god. And then every other rating is like, they don't even have a number there. It just says fucking peon next to every other player on his team. And he's in the final. Like, the Guardian's not doing any of that shit. Yeah,
and listen, it's not that Guardian is bad. No one is saying that. He's still a fucking legend. He's still really solid. He's still a top 5 AWPer in the world. That's really good. But what you have to understand is that when this FaZe team first came together, Guardian was the god tier version of himself still. Nico was the god tier version of himself. Olaf was playing well. Rain was punching above expectations. They missed their window. They completely fucked it. This FaZe now, it's made up with players that are like, you know, it's like the detective cliche. They're like 2 days from retirement, and they're fucking shadows of themselves. Rain's the only one, I would say. Well, obviously Nico, but on this roster, Rain and Nico are the only ones you feel that will ever get back to where they were, like their peak, and
by the way,
and maybe even a little bit further than that.
They've also, cause they're in FaZe, hit that beautiful spot that must be a fucking nightmare if you're management, which is, I call it the Virtus Pro zone, which is where I'm never going to actually tell you I'm going to retire, because why the fuck would I retire when I'm on this salary? But at the same time, if I actually don't hint that I'm going to retire, you'll just cut me now. So I'll just keep playing. Basically what Zeus has been doing, what a bunch of the Virtus Pro guys did for at least a year. You just fuck with that perception management as long as you can, because every month you get away with it. The money still turns up in your account. That's still real money you can cash out and buy something within the real world. So why wouldn't you? Like, if you're Olafmeister, I don't know where he's at. Maybe his head's not in the game at the moment. Maybe this isn't the right team for him. But you know what? He's still going to do his best to hang another 3 months, another 6 months, get that paycheck, still have the odd game where you believe that it's all fine, even though it clearly isn't. And this, as you say, the worst part is this entire project, its window has been and gone. It's gone. Like, now was the time to just say, start again. And if you're going to start fresh, you're not going to start fresh with a bunch of really old past their sell-by date ingredients.
No, but I'll add this. If the coldzera move does go ahead, I think it gives them a shot in the arm and it boosts their talent up. And you get a little bit like old FaZe in that they could just bang people out. They don't need no tactics.
I couldn't even believe just having Nico and coldzera. Like, you look what Simple and Electronic can do sometimes in Na'Vi. You could still have fucking some great games off that, of course.
Yeah.
It won't be enough to make number one, though, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's like I say, I'm not saying Guardians, but there's people in the chat that don't understand English. So I'll say it again, right? I'm not saying he's bad. He's still very good. He might even have been the best player this tournament. Who fucking knows? I don't have the numbers in front of me. He played well. He played solid. But when you have been a fucking literal god, when you come back and you're just a demigod, it's not enough. That's the point. You've seen it so many times with like legendary players across all sports. You know, it's like Alan Shearer after he ruptured his cruciate ligament. He's still fucking Shearer. He's still going to bang in goals for you, but he couldn't outpace a defender anymore. So he had to do it all through clever positioning and just, god tier fucking precision. He's still a god, but he's just not what he was. And that's just the reality. If anyone wants to fucking make the argument that Guardian's still as good as he was a year ago, I'd love to fucking see the data. There's a challenge for you all. Do it. Anyway, Astralis. I think
we fucking called this one,
mate. Listen. I understand we throw out bold predictions, and sometimes they are Hail Marys and they come from nowhere, and they're not really backed up or whatever. They're just gut feelings, intuition. There's one thing that is as fucking true as just anything in this business. And that is that once you are in the sweet spot, once you are the number one team, once you have that equilibrium, remember every day at the top is the day everyone's watching your demos, trying to play like you, trying to be you, trying to beat you, right? It's hard to lead from the front. And if you ever take your foot off the gas in Counter-Strike, you never get back out there. You get overtook and you're just doing laps.
I would tell everyone out there, listen, I don't know how long each average fan watching this show has been watching, but I'll imagine we could probably have more of the hardcore fans who've been around, 4 or 5 years. So just cast your mind back 4 or 5 years. Think of each dominant team, pick them at the period they were at their most dominant, then get where the dominance ended, flash forwards 6 months, a year and a half. Are they ever number one team again? It's almost never happened. Like SK did it briefly. Maybe some of those teams had like a month that was bad, but you don't like go right down and then come back up together. Like the only angle that even gives Astralis the potential to do it is they kind of chose to go down a level, which is not normally whatever anyone does. They normally just go down because the actual form's worse. Someone figures them out. But even then, like the idea that they can't out of choice just become the greatest team again. That's not necessarily on the cards. Sadly.
And let's look at the run to the tournament and the performances they had. Like again, I thought they had a very easy run.
Path of all fucking
time. Like they had an easy run.
Like Andence messed up the best of ones. Yeah, they had a clear bracket in the playoffs.
Yeah. And, so they got to play Fnatic. Well, they're going to beat them. They got to play NIP. Well, they're going to beat them. And then the first real tests come when Vitality comes to town. Now, the reality is there is no way there's definitely no way the old Astralis would have lost here. But let's talk about.
They would have won this match.
Oh, easily. Let's talk about Blastralis. I still think Blastralis should be taking the likes of Vitality down if they're legit. If there aren't any of the problems that we all talked about.
Sure.
This series, they got battered. They could have been 2-0.
Absolutely.
They could have
lost the Inferno game as well. They were coming back in that game.
They could have been 2-0'd. And what's fucking crazy here is, go look at the numbers, right? You've got, let's just do it roll for roll, You've got Alex, who fucking knew that all you had to do to fix French Counter-Strike was get a fucking an English in-game leader. Who the fuck knew that was the solution? Compare him to Glaze.
Shox and MBK. Could you two just fuck off trying that? You've done that about 4 times. Can someone else be the leader?
Yeah. And also, it's got to be said, just right from the get-go, Astralis are shook as fuck with their map pool. They took Nuke out.
There you go. Enough said.
They are fucking shook.
And here's another thing
they don't believe in themselves.
An interesting detail is this. When the guys from Team Liquid almost lost to Na'Vi, they gave it up. They even basically said, you know what? Yeah, we had some bad games in this tournament. We had some moments against NRG that were tough. They win all these games, by the way. All these are wins. They're downplaying wins that they have against ranked opponents. Astralis is trying to explain to you how what your lying eyes have told you is wrong. And actually, their losses are better than they should be expected to. I can tell you already, Rich, you'd love this because as an old school guy, you'd appreciate this. The reason why I'm out here at some of these events, bodying some of these new school analysts journalists is because they're all getting tricked by Scrimbox. Me and Monty call them Scrimbox in Overwatch, right? Because anytime you buy the hype, and it's like they haven't shown you it in the server, but in scrims, they're amazing and they're always beating these. I always tell people I ignore that entirely. I don't take it into account or go against. I just ignore it, and I only look at what I see in the server. So to people like Pimp, and I think Pimp's a guy who knows the game, but to him, he's hearing all that hype and he's thinking, right, so next match I should expect an even better performance and maybe even the best's yet to come. And it's like, no, I have to see it before I believe that, Pimp. Like when I see it, I'll be with you on that one, but as long as I keep seeing just okay performances, and if you actually go back in the tournament against NIP, they were actually underwhelmingly bad. Like they won the series in not particularly convincing fashion, a match everyone thought was a gimme. So I have to say, I look at the Astralis the last few months. I told people this, forget the games they lost. Go look at their wins. Their best wins are like NIP and Fnatic, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
To tell me they're an elite team. So that's why I was loving my little prediction before the tournament. The Vitality had outplaced them. They even did it out by directly playing them.
Yeah, and you know, look, just on the point about scrims they're a completely fucking separate world. Because people don't try, right? Or they try out something new, or they don't want to try the real shit because they're worried they're going to play you next week. So you end up with this, you're doing it. It's like one up from deathmatch, but it's one down from LAN. It's just in the middle. It's something that you have to do. But it's not the be all and end all by any. I mean, the amount of tournaments I've gone into,
it doesn't have any psychological components. So, for example, say you are a team like Astralis, where there's a lot of expectations on you, and you know what, there's a team you're supposed to like. None of those factors are there in the scrim, are they? So, I could believe they have the capability to be this amazing team, but they're not doing it now.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, how many times have I been told, like, oh fucking hell, this team's godlike in scrims. I don't think they've lost a
sometimes mad ones, right? You'll sometimes hear about some shit team and you'll be like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, like people were saying Furia. Turned out there might have been some truth to that, but, you know, this was before they had their run at ECS and stuff like that, like way back when, right? People were talking about that when we did the No Majors Club. You know, but like literal crazy teams you wouldn't think, like teams down in the fucking top 20, like, you know, Polish teams and like fucking X-Corn or whatever they're fucking called. And like, oh yeah, they just don't lose scrims. It's mental. Brilliant. Where they at LAN? Fucking nowhere. So, you can only judge it on the actual games from actual tournaments. We'll just get back to the point, right? So, roll for roll, you know, Alex compared to Glaive. Alex did a fucking number. This was a clinic, by the way, tactically. They fucking, not only are they so good on nuke vitality, that they got fucking Astralis shook, so they wouldn't even play a map that, you know, sure, they've only lost it, like, you know, if we take it over the last 50 times they've played it, they've only lost it a handful, but they are on a fucking streak right now, and they knew that Vitality could add to that. They got banged out on Dust 2. Think about how many fucking times Astralis have been picking Dust 2 and playing Dust 2 and trying to make Dust 2 work for them. Teams on that. Yeah, of course they did, because all the other teams were avoiding it. Now, listen, real talk, if you know anything about your history about French teams, just stay the fuck away from Dust 2. Because even if they ain't picking it, or ain't playing it, or say they ain't good on it, they always are. It's just in their blood. It's like Irish people being able to handle their booze. I don't know why, but it's just something that's universally true. You'll never find a fucking Irish guy who can't put it away. They might even say, like, I don't even drink, and then it's like, yeah, I bet you can put this bottle of whiskey down and not even be tipsy, though. And they can do it, and they didn't even know. It's like that on Dust 2 for the French. They'll fucking like that famous rock thing. Up and bang you out.
You know what, they always show that video, because obviously famously, it's even the cover of that Nirvana album, Nevermind, where they say that when babies are born, if they're born and they're just in water, because they've come out of the womb where they obviously didn't used to breathe using their lungs, they can swim immediately. It's like if you get a little French kid who's going to become a Counter-Strike player and chuck him on Dust 2, he just runs up, self-flashes himself out with short and starts trying to fucking one-tap some cunt at the end of like the goose area, doesn't he? Like, before he's even said Sacre Bleu, which apparently they don't say, so I'm going to keep pretending they do, just like calling Scottish people Scotch.
Yeah, good. They love that. Good on you. But then, okay, so then let's talk about, I mean, the discrepancy between the star players like ZywOo in this series compared to Device. Well, this was fucking day and night, because this was like an old school Device going missing in a big game.
He only had that one round on Inferno. He had that one AR pace, and the rest of it, he was non-existent. He was choking like a motherfucker.
He really did. He really played poor. Meanwhile, you know, the fucking the new god of fucking Counter-Strike was just unbelievable. Like the rounds he was clutching, it was crazy. Then okay, we'll talk about like, compared Dupree to RPK. RPK outperformed fucking Dupree in terms of rating, not in overall frags. I thought Dupree played pretty well overall.
The idea they'd even be comparable though, is
I know, right?
Said, right?
Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing as well. Like, everyone was hyping up the renaissance of RPK. The reality is, sure, he looked really, really good, and he had some really good rounds. But this still wasn't like where he was at before he got the bout of pneumonia he had. He just actually started to contribute. And then if you look at like MBK and Zipnix, Zipnix was the best player in Astralis at the tournament.
Yep.
And NBK is kind of reinventing himself right now with this secondary AWP shit he's pulling out. So Astralis were not good at this event. They got a bunch of layup soft games that they took advantage of against opponents that they should be able to beat in their fucking sleep. Did it clean, fair. But then this was the first real test, and it wasn't even close. It should have. I go back and I think about that Inferno game, and how Astralis were able to nick it in OT. And I think about some of the mistakes that the French made, and some of the times they failed to lock down sites. Like, it should have been 2-0. It felt like a 2-0, and I think that was bore out by the fact that the two maps that Vitality did win weren't even close. So this thing about Blastralis, even Dupree in the interview when they got knocked out by Vitality had to say, we've not been the number one team in the world for months now. And if you look at it, well,
might want to let that company that owns them know about that. Apparently, there's some cross signals there. Maybe they need to hire some different in the communications department.
It's just one of those things. It's like, guys, I get why you're having to do this, but you've surrendered. The idea, like, I think your tweet was very pertinent when you said, like, no one's ever come back to do, the 3 in a row for the majors. Maybe they can do it, but I don't think they can. I think this is now a team that's going to be solid, middle of the pack, and then eventually it's going to be the decline where you have to change one part. Maybe Dupree can't do it anymore, or whatever.
Like,
it is.
Can we get some sort of
It'll be like
moratorium
Fnatic all over again
on the people who made the excuses? Like, listen, what we'll do is we'll do like one of those, when there's the Northern Ireland troubles, they would have those amnesties. Like, if you just turn in the guns now, we'll just forget about it, take the guns away, and we'll try and all have a better future, right? We'll do a moratorium like that. Here's the situation, right? All of you that stand for Blast and for Astralis and kept arguing even before this tournament that Liquid wouldn't have won those tournaments if Astralis was there, even though Astralis was at 2 of this fucking ones that they've won on this Grand Slam and could do dick all against them except one time play and lose. So even ignoring all that, you made every excuse in the book. And what you did was, it wasn't until it was completely, by every metric, undeniable, they have failed utterly to come back as a top team, that you said, right, I guess I admit they're not the best then. It's like, no, what you need to review is not that tournament. It is the way you were thinking about Counter-Strike for the last 3 months. I always said this like this. The reason to me it was so obvious their era was gone is because an era is a length of time. So if you take a segment of that length of time, it must contain something that maintains the era. So think of this, right? If this last period hadn't have ended their era and this last period had been the beginning of their era, would they have an era? No! They wouldn't have had an era off winning a blast, failing 2 blasts, failing 3 other lands. No, that wouldn't have been the beginning of an era, would it? So why would that be the end of an era? Like, the era ended at the beginning of that period of time. I know I was probably a little bit ahead of the curve, but I can't believe there were some people who were still lagging behind to now, to where this tournament they were asking Team Liquid players, are you the number 1 team in the world? I'd be going, who the fuck else could be? That's what I'd say if they asked me that.
Well, let's just break it down. You know what? Miami. They were 5th. The Pro League season finals, 5th to 6th, beat by Liquid. Cologne gone out in the semis. I think I missed something out there. Was that Madrid was 2nd?
Yes.
So where in that is a fucking continuation of an era? When you think about where they were at the start of the year and coming out of 2018, it's over. It's fucking done. And last in ECS. Yeah, there you go. There's 5. So that's 5 tournaments that they have failed to win, and not just only failed to win, but have basically crashed out when they paid opposition. Go look at the best of 3s that they're losing. I think the last 4 or 5 best of 3s they've lost, they've all come against different teams.
They've lost to Furia. They've lost to
Furia,
Liquid.
Liquid, Vitality.
I think NRG as well at EPL.
Right.
Like, notice these teams they're losing to are good teams. Hence why Astralis loses consistently to them. The teams Astralis beats, not good teams. Hence why Astralis beats them. Like, it's not hard to figure out at this point, is it?
Yeah, but like, it's not right. When Team Liquid, right, and this is why when we talk about Team Liquid, we'll get into whether or not this is an era. It is. Spoiler. The Team Liquid were losing to Astralis. When Team Liquid was second at all those tournaments, it was pretty much Astralis. A couple of anomalies, like when they lost the Summit to Vitality recently. But generally, it was Astralis who were wrecking them, right? So you say, well, it just sucks, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's like, it's like playing in the fucking Federer era in tennis. You being number 2 and having to go up against him every final must have fucking been super depressing because you're like, this cunt didn't exist. The world would be mine. The world would be mine. That's how Team Liquid felt when Astralis were on top. Astralis aren't running into a nemesis. No. They're not. Liquid aren't doing a run back, and it's Astralis and Liquid in every final to create this epic, titanic fucking rivalry, like which we've never seen. No, you're just losing to everyone who's actually vaguely talented now. It's over. It's done. I made the joke.
That's why I said the crazy thing is they literally are just a gatekeeper right now.
Yeah.
If you can beat them, you might be an event winner. They're not winning the event though. That's yet to be proven whatsoever.
You know, I made the joke on Twitter. I said somewhere after they got knocked out, I said somewhere right now an Astralis fan is typing up why they're still number 1. And unironically, I got linked to a load of them. And an Astralis fan saying, well, if they go and defend the major, they're still the number 1. Fucking, is this real? Is this real? Like,
that's why I always
what's it gonna take?
That's why I always know the haters that say it. No one ever said that are the stupidest people in the world. Like they either themselves they're actively being like liars, or they're just so dumb that they just comment on things they've never read because it's all over the place. You can't miss it. Put it that way. There'll always be someone arguing.
When Cloud9 won the major, they weren't the best team in the world by any fucking metric.
Don't worry, Rich. 100% of the people who message me trying to defend right up until this loss, and sometimes even after that, Astralis is still the best, either have a Danish name or an Astralis logo as their Twitter profile picture. One of the two. Like, even if it's not an Astralis picture, their name is like, you know, fucking Mads Lambiek. It's like, yeah, no shit, you think Astralis is still the best motherfucker. And do you think Mum's Cooking's the best as well? Is it you daft little cunt? No. Tell you what, let me in there with some fucking salt and pepper. I'll see what I'll do.
My mum's cooking was never that.
Stop eating fucking sausages and being shit Germans, you cunts.
Oh, Lord. All right, so let's talk about Vitality. Like, listen, I don't want to get carried away with this team, so let's just talk a little bit about history. Obviously, me and you were banged on Vitality back when. By the way, people are calling me out for saying it's ZywOo. Is it actually ZywOo?
As usual, the people who are getting mad about this aren't getting mad about something that's been definitely established. I've heard it said a bunch of different ways, even by French people, mate. So on this one, I'd just go whatever you want. And again, I will reference that there's plenty of names that we all just choose not to say correctly anyway. Like, for example, Zipnix. Another one would obviously be Ethan. I'm not calling him Nate. Have you ever called him that? No. So we all call him whatever the fuck we want.
The thing is, it doesn't make sense because I thought generally in French,
they say like Z in that way.
Z,
yeah,
like
because Z is the
Y's and
one,
E.
hence why I always wreck all the Americans. So I don't give a fuck, mate. I'm calling him ZywOo anyway.
I'll just alternate, and then 50% of the time I'm right, just like making predictions, isn't it? So anyway, look, let's talk about this team because in the past, right, we called them out and we said this is the fucking ZywOo show, and all the others need to fucking step it up. And you criticized them, and I criticized them, and then when the Vitality started to click and do better and better at tournaments, people would turn around going, see, you didn't give them time. It's like, no, what we were saying was there's only so much time you can give them if they continue to perform like this. Yes. That is the point that we're making. What do you think me and Duncan would rather? That this team with players whose careers we fucking followed for years, people we actually like in real life and get to talk to and hang out with at events. Do you think we want this team to fail and break apart, right? And we get back to the fucking French shuffle again, where it's like, but perhaps this time Shocks will be a good IGL and maybe Appy could just get me the fuck out of that reality, right? Or do you think we want this team with this old guard, unbelievably talented players and a new in-game leader and one of the best fucking prospects we've ever seen succeed. Which do you think, for the love of the game, which do you think we'd rather? Well, obviously it's the fucking latter, because we do love the game. It is real. But we're not going to pretend they're not fucking shit when they were getting carried by a fucking teenager and everyone else was playing bad.
This is like if I said, tell you what, sorry, Mrs. I don't know, for the joke, Mrs. Butterfield. We'll just say that one. Sorry, Mrs. Butterfield. But whatever your son is, let's call him Owen for the sake of this. Your son, Owen, has not been, he has not done well in his media communications class. He hasn't been doing the curriculum. He hasn't been turned up to class enough. And when he is, I feel as though his effort is not concerted enough and he is going to fail this subject. So then, you know, Mrs. Butterfield, she gets out her purse and she pops out a few gold farthings, doubloons, all the good shit. And she pays for a tutor to come in and help young Owen, as he might be called in the scenario. And he gets his shit together. He figures out how to do it, you know. And he comes back and he fucking does well on the test. He doesn't get an A, but he gets a B+. If after that you turn around and go, excuse me, sir, why did you say he was bad? He just got a B+. It's like, that makes no sense. Did you follow any of the linear cause and effect in that story where they couldn't have improved to the level you would say, why did you criticize them if they hadn't have been criticized? Like, it's a pretty open and shut case, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this, right? And this is the killer for you right here, Rich, because no one noticed it. What was the only map in the final that Vitality won against Team Liquid? Do you remember? It was.
Wait, off the top of my head, it was
just two.
No, it was just two.
No, it was just two. Yeah, Inferno was the one they won against Astralis, right?
Yeah.
And the map that they basically made it clear after the Just 2 game that they weren't going to win the series when they played Inferno, right? That was absolutely dire. They got bashed completely. That was the map where Team Liquid ran a massive CT side. Right, remember, Alex is the whole reason their Just 2 is godlike on T side. The only map NBK calls on T side of is Inferno.
Yeah.
See this book? It's closed now. We don't ever have to have that discussion again about NBK as an in-game leader. I'm glad because we don't have to have it. He's playing with a brilliant in-game leader. He's doing a great job. Like, that's why the old Vitality wasn't good. You saw the old Vitality. You just played a game there. Played that Inferno game against Team Liquid. Go rewatch the demo anytime you want to get nostalgic. If you want to watch the good Vitality, go watch the Just 2 game where they took one of the best teams in the world, one of the best Just 2 teams, took them all the way to overtime and beat them.
Yeah.
That's night and day right there.
I mean, look, I think that it's not just about the fact that they've got an in-game leader who's clearly competent. By the way, I thought Alex was just like a lights-out performer. He had so many impactful rounds, like so many clutches, so many moments where he like outbrained people. Like he was even outbraining Zipniks and clutches and shit. Like, so Alex is a very smart, cerebral player that we probably haven't, really given as many props to as we should. But again, it's everybody else. Apex. When was Apex looking this good? Like, how far back do we have to go? Now he's in vintage Apex form, playing with flair, no fear, getting those entry frags again, having, like, great rounds where he rescues it, right? Then you got MBK. Now, MBK was adrift for a while and not playing particularly well. Started to reinvent himself as this, like, secondary AWPer. He's trying new things, and I think he needed that. People probably won't know this because not a lot of people followed Source as religiously as I did. But MBK was an AWPer for a brief time in a period of very games. It's something he's done in the past in his career. It was one of the reasons why when the Scout was overpowered, if you remember in CSGO, MBK was the guy that would just pick up a Scout on a second round and bang out 3 people with headshots. And then, crucially, RPK, especially in the final in the series, he was one of the things that was going very right for Vitality. That was clutching 1v3, pulling the fat out the fire fucking consistently. We haven't been saying that for a while either. So over the course of the last few tournaments, since they won the Summit, everything is aligned, everything is improved. And on top of that, I'm back to ZywOo. ZywOo is the player most likely to knock Simple off the perch as #1 in the world. So you've got all of that going for you. They got a map pool that's pretty fucking deep. It wasn't evident in the final. Liquid completely outclassed them. But first of all, you want to dodge them on Dust 2. Like,
there was a lot of map overlap, unfortunately, on that one, mate. They could have looked a lot better against different opponents.
I'd say right now, you want to dodge them on Dust 2. You want to dodge them on Nuke. And if you're anyone other than Liquid, maybe Astralis. Yeah, that's about it. Probably you want to dodge them on Overpass, but they got banged out on Overpass in the final. They've got problems on Mirage. I mean, I'll tell you this: I'm glad the final didn't go to Vertigo, because if I was a Liquid fan, it'd be like that fucking
it's a massive gamble.
Key and Peele, like $1 million riding on a game on Vertigo. Like, fucking, that's not good for anyone. That's a fucking heart attack waiting to happen. So but yeah, they're lacking on Mirage. They're lacking on Inferno. They need to. I agree with you. They need to change it up on Inferno. I don't know why they're letting MBK call it, because their T sides look really fucking lacking. But honestly, right now, Vitality, if they can maintain this form, very good shout to stay number 2 in the world. And actually, all of the talk of the rivalries we were going to get coming on, we were like, well, would it be Ents in Liquid? Because they've had some great close series, and Ents obviously at the major. And then would it be Astralis in Liquid? Will Astralis get rid of the Blastralis thing and come back into it? Well, no, actually, right now, Vitality and Liquid have, Vitality took the summit. Obviously, this is the bigger one at Cologne, but this is the interesting one. What happens when an old guard with a star who's probably better than any player on Liquid come up against an all-star lineup like Liquid, when everyone can go off? I mean, I thought Twists was unlucky. If he'd had a better final, he was godlike throughout the tournament. I thought it was really weird he wasn't talked about more for the MVP for the tournament. I think, did Elige get it, or did Ziwu get it?
Ziwu got the HLTV.org one.
Yeah, Ziwu got HLTV, but official one from Cologne was Elige, right?
I don't know if there was an official one for that. I don't remember it anyway.
But I totally support the Ziwu as the MVP, because I think if Ziwu isn't in the Vitality team, I don't think they're anywhere close to this tournament.
Oh, they wouldn't be. But that's actually something I want to talk about as well. Like, I agree, by the way. Bearing in mind, Na'Vi themselves have been pretty inactive because they didn't qualify for Pro League, etc. If you just look at the work Ziwu's put in over the last few months and then add this tournament, he absolutely is he's the only person who truly is contending with Simple for the title of best player, and he's earned that status, and it's now a serious conversation. It's not like in the past where last year we used to have to crowbar it, like, well, if you just look at the stats alone, Twists over the last 3 months, only on a Monday when it's a 45-degree weather, is the same as, like, we had to mindfuck ourselves to believe anyone could be at Simple's level. The difference is Ziwu, in terms of all-around game, eye tests, stats, who he's beating better teams, winning when you have no business winning when, like, you're stuck in a Molotov and you have to kill 2 people before you die. Everything that's impossible, he's doing like Simple's doing. But I'll say this is the nuance I think people missed about this event. Because at the end of the event, I get it, because too many of the analysts and commentators played up the angle of, like, it isn't like Simple and Na'Vi though, guys. Stop saying that, Ziwu has to carry these guys. No, let's be real. There's a reason that stat was shown at the end of the tournament, where if you look at the entire event, Ziwu's rating's mental. It's unbelievable. And everyone on his team got like a red rating. But here's the context that's different. One, your eye test, if you watch the big games, shows it isn't only him carrying. Like, it's not as egregious the mistakes they make as Na'Vi does. I will say they lose a lot of anti-ecos, but that's also I think a function of what I'm about to say. I don't think, aside from Ziwu, they have that many top skilled players in this team. But even though the rating was bad, first of all, they played fucking 17 maps at the tournament. There's a lot of players here that if they'd have gotten to do what a lot of other players did, play half or less than that number, they'd have had an all right rating. They'd have had some good games, some bad games. And even now, 17's a lot for anyone. That's why, by the way, Ziwu is a god that he could do that over 17 maps. But you spin it the other way. His teammates also had a lot of time to lower those ratings by having to play a bazillion games. I would just say this. In-game, the eye test tells me they are a much more coherent team than a Na'Vi was. They actually do play their roles, even if they don't frag out in them. And then, yes, even though it is still unreasonable, I'll still say that, they do have one of the best players in the world who can, just like Simple, do it every fucking game. So as a result, they are one of the best teams. It's just, I would kind of agree. If you had to pick one matchup you wouldn't want them to play, it's a Team Liquid where everyone's in peak form, and they can just literally take turns to, like, tag team, slap each other in to fucking go carry the game.
Yeah, and they made it really hard for themselves because, shout out to Bio in the chat. I was going to bring this up, but the pistols, they converted 5 pistol rounds in that final. Well, they won 5 pistol rounds, But then, like, in terms of like making a 3-0 off the back of that, they got fucking anti-E code in 4 of them.
On the Inferno game, I think this was the right one, if I'm correct. I think Inferno was the map where they won both pistols and ZywOo had 3 clutches and they was utterly smashed on the map.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah. And it's like, listen, you know, if they can tweak that, but I almost think that's a symptom of Liquid. I don't think that's anything Vitality you're doing.
No, I also think Liquid is, that's why in many ways, we'll get to this when we talk about Liquid, they have a lot of the qualities of what that FaZe clan thought they were going to do to be number one, but they're for real. Like, for example, they have the team that if you wanted to put everyone on a pistol upgrade, you'd make this sort of a lineup. People who just have killer aim will just bang your head off from a mile away. That's why I like that MBK at least, except the joke when he said himself that they were bad at them. I even said, yeah, it doesn't feel that good being on the other side of that, does it, mate?
No,
After
it
you
doesn't.
did exactly, because for people who don't know, actually probably one of the most similar comparable teams was the old French teams. They also had mad skill, played Morvaloo style, were unbelievable if they were on pistols. There's even some similarities NBA can probably appreciate there.
So let's do it. Let's fucking move on to Liquid, and then we'll do the blast thing, and then we'll do the questions. It's going to be a bit of a long episode, so we'll try and speed it up. Yeah. Makes sense. So look, Liquid, I thought they fucking started real slow at this fucking tournament. You saw the 16-14 in the best of one against the Koreans on Nuke, and you were like, oh, fucking hell. And then let's be real, they probably should have lost to Na'Vi if it weren't for fucking Knife Gate coming up. So they get a bit of luck there. But what was interesting was they were just like laughing and joking like this weren't a fucking thing. Like it was like they were always just super, like they literally were given the game by Na'Vi. But they were talking like they fucking beat them, like legit. They didn't, you know, they were just laughing, joking, look completely unflustered. I had NRG beating them when I did my predictions because I thought it was gonna. But I felt Liquid could win the tournament, but I just felt it was gonna take something. It was gonna take someone to knock them down a peg. But it actually turned out, you know, it wasn't great. It wasn't clean. I thought NRG. I mean, you know, on Nuke. They definitely made some mistakes that were uncharacteristic. And then obviously in Inferno, fuck Stanislaus' life. Because he was doing fucking heroics on that map. And then crazily, it was sort of Ethan and Breezy who've been really good that sort of had like moments where they made mistakes that were critical, but it was a 22-20 game on Inferno. So NRG could have took that. So Liquid Liquid hadn't really come alive. And they said so. You know, they did that interview where I think after the NRG game, they were like, it doesn't feel like a win for us. And it was the NRG game they said that about, not the Na'Vi game.
That's where, you know, it sounds counterintuitive, but when your fucking C or B- game still gets you the win against all these other top 10 ranked teams, you're fucking an amazing team. And you yourself know that you got away with one there as well.
Well, let's just be real. I mean, you know, in terms of what was dragging them through, there were some parallels early in the tournament between Liquid and Na'Vi. That cohesively, they didn't look like a great team, but it's what this Liquid team can do. The difference is with Na'Vi, it's Simple that has to pull the hero performance out because no one else can. On Liquid, take your fucking pick.
You basically just you get 3 or 4 names, you chuck them out there, whichever comes out. There you go.
Yeah, Twists was fucking unreal for periods of this tournament, but then in the NRG game, it's like you have a rest, mate. You fucking chill out down there at the bottom of the scoreboard. Elysia's back in town, motherfucker. I'm just gonna step up and casually do fucking 30 kills on both maps or whatever the fuck it was. Nitro, like how many fucking clutch rounds did Nitro have?
Over this tournament, mate, it's funny that obviously they're following in the wake of the Astralis team because what he's doing was comparable to some of those tournaments last year when Glaive would just have numbers that for an IGL that's also doing a good job as an IGL are like, this is unreal. How's this guy doing this?
Yeah, and like straight up. In the past, again, because I'll never ignore history, I talked about Nitro and said I didn't understand it because he was underperforming and he didn't have the chops as an IGL. Sure. Well, you know, sometimes some people who have the intelligence and the skill set can obviously grow into that role. And some people I don't think will and shouldn't even try. And someone like Nitro, I'll be willing to admit I was completely wrong because he's in.
I think he's one of the outliers for me that made it.
Sure, absolutely. But
I would have bet a year or two into that it doesn't work.
To put a comparison right in from again, you know, digging back in the ether. people won't remember that Existence was like the god tier AWPer, a mad fragger in Source, had all the highlight reels, had all the frag movies. And then eventually you realize, like, this is a product of great reactions and reading the game. And as I get older, it's going to deteriorate a little bit. And on top of that, I play in a scene that doesn't really have an abundance of great IGLs. You know, you had Hearts, was the guy from 1.6. His protege was like KRL. And then you had Regnum. And now you're fucking struggling for great French IGL. So Existence identified a fucking way to reinvent himself, and his reinvention from being one of the greatest AWPers in Source to being one of the greatest IGLs in Go and Source is unparalleled. Somebody should make a documentary about that story and how he did it and how he sat down with other IGLs and took all the lessons. Nobody has ever done it like him. Nitro's pretty fucking close. Nitro's pretty fucking close.
Even went ham in the final, mate. Just go look at his stats.
Yeah.
This guy's no joke.
Yeah, and the fact that, again, Nitro's picking up an AWP and he's clutching with it and he's outbraining players and this team are all firing on all cylinders, and even when things don't go well tactically, a round is always salvageable because of an individual moment of brilliance. You know, like, fuck me. This Liquid team is fucking scary. And and you're right. The parallel is FaZe. But it's FaZe with a fucking really good in-game leader and a guy who can clutch. So again, like, there is a real chance here. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but when people are talking about, is this an era? Again, go back and look at the tournaments they've won. They just took a fucking Grand Slam in, like, what, 63?
They've beaten everyone. That's not exaggeration. They have beaten everyone.
Yeah. Like,
and their map pool is unreal.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the fact they were even willing to leave Vertigo in there, like, fuck it, let's just have a bash, eh? Like, and if you watch how Stewie plays on that map, I mean, like, again, they've just got so much capabilities, so much, you know, just it's just a terrifying team. The only thing, again, we're at a point now where the only thing that can fuck them up is their mentality and their mindset, and we know they were liable for a choke in the past. I don't think they are anymore. I think they've got that out their system,
mate,
and that is so terrifying for everybody.
You know, obviously that was the first thing that really hit the credibility, is they won IEM Sydney without playing the top teams because there was none there thanks to all the blast shit, and then famously, because they went to that 5th map against Fnatic, people thought, fairly enough, well, what if Fnatic has a miracle game there and wins? You know, the same shit would have happened again. That's the difference, is you look at the tournaments after that, and every time they're in the tough spot where normally it would be like, right, time to pack it all up and lose this game. We had a close map. Haha, we all tried out the cut. Let's come back stronger next. No, they would just come back in that game. They actually now start to have that quality that, even though stylistically it's totally different, the roles are totally different. It reminds me of Astralis last year in the same way. Like, I know that they haven't lost the game yet. I know that, like, you know what? If this opponent gives them one more chance, they're going to get back in this motherfucker. And that's what you saw in the final, like that last map of Mirage in the final. A normal Team Liquid game, I mean, it was scrappy to even get the rounds they did in the first half. They'd just lose the game. You just gradually you get choked out, you lose the game. No, in that game, if they got any chances, they were going to come back. It's like, it's the same feeling. You have to play your A+ game. That's to have a chance to beat them. That's how you know you got a great team on your hands. Yeah, and you still might lose.
Yeah, and you know, just super happy with the way it's worked out. Like, doing the Grand Slam in this, like, unbelievable record time. I mean, Intel must be fucking, like, someone somewhere at Intel's getting a fucking furious email, because they were like, look, it's so hard to do. We'll probably never have to pay.
Remember, Dupree said he thought nobody would ever do it.
Exactly.
It's been done twice now, one in record time.
It's fucking wild as fucking it. Like, because somebody's going to the market going, all we have to do is promise $1 million, but they'll never do it. It's so hard.
And by the way, if you're Astralis, you remember that argument, haha, we just want to have a break, and also Blast is more money. $3 million, motherfucker. $3 million. Oh, by the way, do you not want your rivals to get eras? I'd probably not let them win $1 million in 63 days, dumb fuck.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you know, it's like that fucking you know, it's like when you do those things at restaurants where it's like you have the heart attack burger, nobody can finish it, and then it's like, we'll just open this restaurant in Texas.
No, this is like
everyone comes in and demolishes that fucking burger. They do it for fucking fun.
This is like Astralis completed that, right? And someone was like, you're the best we've ever fucking had in here. The way you ate it, you know, you still seem fine at the end. You could have gone for more, if anything, but you chose to just retire and go home early. Liquid came in, they didn't even see the board. They just ordered that as a fucking starter.
Exactly. Yeah, just fucking wild as fuck. And again, to do it in a record time. This is why I'm saying, if you go and look, right, anybody who has any doubt about an era, I know it's only been a short period of time. I know we're talking, for me, we're talking 3 months. People have been saying, oh, it's only been 2 months and blah, blah, blah. You know, they want to go back to the first sort of tournaments they were winning. Understand that to contextualize an era, right? You do have to take a little bit before, the bit when they get into the fucking sweet spot, right? So you go back to, for me, probably to the start of April. You know, anything after Katowice, I think, because if you remember, they started the year with winning the iBuyPower Masters, where they beat Astralis to do it. Now, no one's ever going to include that tournament in an era, but that's the tantalizing prospect of what could have been. Yes. And then they go to Sao Paulo. They're second. They lose against Astralis, but they took a map and it was close again. And then they got to the finals in Miami and they were like, fucking hell, is this the one? And then they had to play FaZe, who were literally, that was like the last probably good performance by them. But then after that, you go to Sydney, right? It's a win, right? You go to the CS Summit, you get to the final, you use the Vitality, they probably didn't even see coming, probably thought they'd already won it.
First time they ever played them.
Yeah, first time they'd ever come up against that lineup. They ain't going to... You've already seen they've got their fucking number now.
Exactly.
Right? They win Dallas. They win that Invitational, which was no fucking joke. We're talking online Counter-Strike to even get to Cologne. And they had to beat G2 in the final. Then they won the Pro League finals. Now they've done Cologne and they've done a Grand Slam. Like, if this isn't the start of a fucking era, like, I've never seen one before then. It seems like a crazy argument to me. Because remember... Even when we're in eras, you have to include the second places, the semi-finals.
Yes, exactly.
That is part of it. It's not just about the
That's
wins.
What they always miss, Rich. Because what always happens is people miss that, like, if we only counted winning tournaments, you'd have to take half the eras away. There'd only be fucking Nip and maybe Nip and Astralis. I think it'd be only ones that would actually qualify. Even Fnatic, like I said, used to lose tournaments. They used to even sometimes lose badly if the right team came along in the semis. You know, that could happen. It wasn't impossible. Yeah. The idea is, if your bad day is semi-final, you're probably fucking amazing. And as anyone who goes and can open a Liquipedia tab, which apparently no one does, can see, a bad day for Team Liquid is lose to another of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, it's that consistency.
In the final.
Yeah, it's that consistency of excellence. That's what we're talking about when we talk about eras. It's that you back this team to be in the top 3 every fucking time. And more often than not, it's number 1. That's an era. But if Team Liquid go to the next tournament now and they get like into the final, and then let's say it's a rematch with Vitality, and, you know, hey, this time Vitality take it 2-1, right? And people go, see? Not an era. It's like, fuck me. It's like you've never followed sports before. You've never followed sports, because I'll bet your Team Liquid go back to the next final after that. Winning a Grand Slam is in the way they've done it, in the time they've done it in, is unreal. And yeah, there are mitigating circumstances because of fucking Astralis being pussies.
Yes.
Right? There's a big asterisk next to it. I mean, put it this way, any chance of a fucking Intel sponsorship for Astralis went out the fucking window because you just fucked them out of $1 million with your pussy fake fucking bullshit.
There's literally an asterisk next to their name because Astralis put their era at risk. There you go.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. Might go back in time, change how that word was formed. Maybe I go back, I appear to some fucking monk, and I go, what about if we called it an asterisk? He goes, oh, seems weird to me. I'm just going to do that. And I go, there you go. Since I just appeared and just said something random to you, just assume I'm God or something. Worked for everyone else. Timestamp that. We'll all be dead.
Reasonable. So anyway, you know, super psyched about this Team Liquid team. And this is what I was saying about how we're entering, you know, after 6 months of, like, you know, kind of poor tournaments, poor everything. Like ESL 1 Cologne, just overall, it was like the jumper cables, because it's a fucking exciting time.
By the way, can we just put the two narratives together as well?
Yeah.
We're living in a world where there's people like, I'll argue and die on this hill that every one of Astralis' results can be argued away that their era still continues. The same person, Team Liquid's been in every final and won the majority of the tournaments and got $1 million in 63 days. Yeah, not enough for me.
Yeah, I know.
The same person exists.
I know. It's wild. It's wild as fuck. But this is an exciting time. Like we didn't have time to talk about them, but NRG understand. I think they can do something. Ents obviously in the mix. Astralis is still going to be there and thereabouts. They're never going to be really, really bad. FaZe might be getting Cold Zero in now. We got Furia on the come up. We got Mouse Sports on the come up. We got Vitality and Liquid making perhaps what could be a tantalizing rivalry. Thank fuck. Like CS has been saved this year, and actually, what saved it has been just the teams and the development of young talent coming through. It's actually been them. So,
let's speak about some stands who keep making noise. Blast, and here we go.
Yeah, great segue. Thanks, buddy. Right, so we've been talking about this fucking Blast LA event, because they handled it so bad. So it was meant to be at the Galen Center, which seats up to 10,000. People, but just so you know, when you hire like real stadiums, you cut certain segments off, and sometimes that's practical because you have to put a screen somewhere that people can see, so you can't have
a 360
screen
stuff.
Yeah, so exactly. You don't have the 360 that you do in a sporting event. So generally, it's never at capacity. Even when they say, "Hey, we sold out," and people go, "Oh, you sold 10,000 tickets?" Nah, they sold 8,000 because they had to fucking put a stand of 2,000 people cordoned off because you couldn't have people sit there or they couldn't see the shit. So, there's a lot of fucking fudging of the numbers in esports at the best of times. So that's one thing you all need to know about how it works. But anyways, we're meant to be doing it in the Galen Center. And then, obviously, they just decided, seemingly out of the fucking blue, to not only change the date, but then to change the venue. And the venue, we thought it was a wind-up. We thought it was a joke. It's literally a furniture store. It's literally a furniture store. And then they honestly thought they could get away with not giving refunds out. I mean, that's the most mind-blowing part of it to me. You paid for an experience. It's like if you fucking were like, "Hey, you want to buy this fucking Ferrari?" Yeah, Ferrari seems pretty dope. There's the money for that. Did I say Ferrari? Actually, it's a fucking, I don't know, some shit car, a fucking Fiat Uno or something. And it's like, okay, well, I want some of the money back. I'll still take the Uno.
No, we need 4 times more.
What's that?
Now it costs 4 times more now.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to understand, the Fiat Uno is a more intimate experience, and it challenges your driving capabilities without a lot of the fancy, newfangled technology, that a lot of the people are using,
But that's the other thing. So not only were they not going to give you a refund, they were also jacking up the price for a fucking clearly inferior product. And they literally did not fucking address this. They didn't explain why any of it was happening and honestly thought they could style it out. So by the way, if you ever want to know who Refresh are as a company, right, and what they would do to consumers if nobody would call them out on their shit, you now know. They will fucking... It is no Vaseline by Ice Cube. That's how they're fucking rolling.
But then 2 things happened that were brilliant. One, again...
The AMA.
Their PR department, who, by the way, are fucking killing it right now. I think the only PR department in the world that's outperforming them is probably fucking... the people who deport people in the USA at the moment. I can't think of anyone who's more disliked for doing their job at the moment than these fucking guys, because PR is the main area they're failing in. Believe it or not, it's not even the tournaments. Like I say, perception management is such a big thing in esports. Of
course it is.
You can fuck up and apologize. You can fuck up and say, "I see where I'm messing up here and we'll do better." People will forgive you. One thing they'll never forgive is when they get a line on your bullshit and you keep selling them the bullshit over.
Yeah.
So you get stuff like the AMA, which was not taken out well by the community, and then obviously this unicorn interview where they act, Rich, as though they did all the things you just said and admitted everything, but they never even get in there. They always spin it to be good. Everything's better.
Well, let's talk about the AMA. And by the way, if you ever want to see an exemplary person when it comes to just transparency and community interaction, just go and watch. We all remember what Adam Apicella did with MLG. MLG weren't always doing popular things, by the way. MLG, it's not like MLG didn't make mistakes. But you knew Adam would be out there and he would be fucking saying, "Listen, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done it. So I'm here to talk you through it all. And it's not good enough," and bang. And then at other times when they were basking in the adoration, he'd come in and go, "Let's not over egg the pudding, let's fucking chill out. We really appreciate it. But, we got these things to do and we don't know how that's going to work." He was just a great guy for how to interact with the community. He was always honest and upfront, and he always got ahead of shit, and he never bullshitted anybody. Right? That's the guy you need. What we've got here with fucking this AMA, which, by the way, bad signs immediately for an AMA. A big company decides to interact with a community. It was at a 64% net upvote. It was struggling to get on the front page. People at this point don't even want to hear what you got to say. you fucked up that much, you lied that much. So they don't even want to listen to what you got to say because they expect more lies and bullshit. It's weird how that works, isn't it? It's like there's a fucking parable called The Fucking Boy Who Cried Wolf that will tell you all about this, and you learn it when you're fucking 6 years old. That once you fucking sell out your fucking integrity and you fucking lie to people repeatedly, they don't want to listen to you anymore. So they come in this for the AMA, and the fucking swagger on these cunts is outrageous. It's outrageous. We called it. We said they were like the estate agents that were selling you the dog shit fucking house and saying, "Hey, but it's a real fixer-upper. Plenty to do for the missus round the home, and it's not small. It's just cozy and intimate." And they literally did this. I've got the answer in front of me. They actually did the estate agent bullshit line.
It's like they were like, that's a pretty good line, actually. Pretty nice and comfortable, isn't it? Yeah, right. Write that down, right there.
Nicholas Estrup is a good fucking guy, by the way. He's old school in esports. I know him. I like him.
He's one of the legit ones.
But what he was doing in this AMA is unforgivable. Yeah, of course he is.
He is what drives me nuts. And me and you have had this too many times in our career. Yes, when someone on r/League of Legends addresses Richard's ban, it will be the most reasonable admin nod on the whole fucking crew, and he'll purposely go out of his way to use language that's not incendiary, and he will act as though he represents the mods and they were all totally nice guys and Richard's really unreasonable. No, the problem is that guy is the front man and he is the fucking bag man as well. And his job is to hold the fucking bag while the bad guy gets out the door. And unfortunately, those guys, I agree, they are good people, but I always tell them if they ever complain to me, I don't care, mate, if your career is fucked up by working for this company. You did choose to work for a fucked up company. Like, I'm not making the other guys fucking wreck you in your company, am I?
Nicholas was a guy who was out there doing, like, I think he even fucking started in photography or some shit. He was community manager. He was a fucking journalist. He's done this. He's done that.
Grassroots guy.
Yeah, like a grassroots guy who definitely deserves some fucking money, and I hope they're paying him well, because when you've got to be the guy, he always reminds me of the time that Riot Games, when their season 2 finals or whatever the fuck it was, got cancelled.
Yes.
And it wasn't Mark Merrill or fucking Brandon Beck or any of those cunts who were fucking pretending that their company doesn't have problems still and giving the fucking California Employment Commission the fucking run around. It wasn't them who went out to apologize to all the fucking fans that literally a live event was being cancelled. They sent fucking DJ Wheat, the host of the event, because he was the fucking face of a friendly face, to put it. Like, no one's going to boo DJ. Boo, fucking start. Here come the pretzels. Like, that was never going to happen to fucking DJ Wheat, right? But he sent him out and he had to apologize and eat the shit. And it's like, this guy, Nicholas Estrup, they send him out to basically answer these questions, which are unanswerable. But what's he going to do? You got to say it. It's your fucking job. There's a paycheck there. There's a commitment there. There's a professional expectation. But we literally called the answer. They literally, we said, this is what they'll say. And we were sort of laughing about it, like yucking it up, like, oh, they'll say it's intimate and it's a better experience. Oh, I can't imagine. Like that, we're laughing about it. They fucking did it. They actually did it. It's like you said, it's like they watched the episode and they said, fucking hell, Thorin and Richard should do our PR. They fucking nailed it. Like, no, you silly cunts. Do the opposite. Look at the fucking answer he said here, Nicholas Estrup, right? A guy called Porridge Moore on Reddit just asked the question in the AMA, why would you downgrade an event from a huge arena to a furniture store? Lol. I still can't believe that's a thing. And then Nicholas Estrup answered, I mean, right out the gate, it's just like, how much bullshit can I fucking force this guy to drink? Probably lots. And he goes, we definitely don't see it as a downgrade. Right. Okay. I don't know if there's some fucking Danish translation.
No, that's the first thing I would say. I would say, hold up a second. I need to define some concepts here. Downgrade.
I know. It's like, right, okay. Galen Centre, actual sporting arena that hosts like real sporting events, furniture store. Like, what? If this isn't a fucking downgrade, like, what, do you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? And then he goes, anyway.
I'm surprised they aren't just like, in fact, we now wish we'd originally thought of the idea to have a video on
in fact, all of it, we're looking for furniture stores in Brazil for when we go back to South Africa. What? Like, straight up, like, I hope they've got sugar bowls full of fucking cocaine and all sorts of crazy shit in the office. Like, I hope they're living like that. I hope they're living like that, because that's the only fucking excuse for the shit.
This better be like one of those writing rooms in Hollywood in the 80s.
Exactly, like full fucking Mad Men, just fucking way. Like, I hope that's how it's going down, because it's insane.
Have you seen this shit? It's going out like that. I just said it was a fucking upgrade.
I know. It's not like, just we'll sell them on anything. Anyway, right? He goes, we definitely don't see it as a downgrade. We've done something drastically different. As if drastically different. Fucking Ryan Johnson, whatever his name is, did something drastically different for the fucking Last Jedi. It was drastically shit.
No, what they've done is
Star Wars as a franchise. People aren't even going to the fucking theme park.
That's it. Blast have subverted your expectations. You thought the event was going to have 8,000 people and be in the Galen Centre. Joke's on you. It's got 1,000 people. It's in a furniture store, and you have to pay basically to just be sat on the fucking producer's lap as one of the seats. That's like a special high premium VIP ticket.
Right, and then he goes,
just tickle his balls while he's changing cameras. I'm getting a very interactive experience. This fucking class.
Yeah, and then he goes. So we get a little bit of truth in because he follows the shit sandwich model. Bread shit. Compliment, feedback, whatever the fuck. He goes. It goes back to ticket sales. When going into ticket sales for Blast Miami, we had huge respect for the U.S. market and knew it was going to be hard. Miami ended up being okay as for attendance, but when we then saw the ticket sales in LA shaped up in very much the same way, spoiler, it was actually worse, the most expensive ticket group being sold out first and general admission gaining less traction, we felt this was the perfect time to try out something we'd wanted for a while. What, you want to move dates and venues, and you want to go from arenas to furniture stores, do you? You've been wanting to do that for a while, have you? Fucking hell. I'm not buying it.
Maybe they were going to change the name of the company to Refurbish.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Anyway, he goes, we want to create something intimate where VIP was for everyone attending. If everyone's a VIP, no one's a VIP. Spoiler again, like basic concepts. Very important person. You're all breathtaking. Panda more, you fucking cunt. What do you mean everyone's a VIP? Fuck that. That's stupid.
We wanted things to be really intimate, so you could kind of see us look in your eyes as we fucked you directly at the venue for your money and experience that is absolutely shit now.
Right? So then he goes, where VIP was for everyone attending, and that ultimately feels like a concert with your favorite artist. I don't want my sporting events to be like concerts, thank you very much. You can jazz it up all you fucking want. In fact, we had a gentleman's agreement not to talk about it. I want less concerts at my esports events, please. Like, I can't see DJ Khaled come out again and fucking people just like, why is this Mo lookalike out here?
Well, the joke is DJ Khaled could come out and go, any y'all want another one of them best of ones?
Yeah, I know. Like,
another one.
Another best of one. Another BO1. Like, yeah, fuck that, right? So then he goes, it's in an intimate setting rather than a stadium concert. So not like a concert then. Because when I go to a concert, it's a big thing. And then, when I go to a gig, it's a small, intimate thing. Like,
I don't go into Bed Bath and Beyond and then them go, right, Bob Dylan's going to be playing in the fucking, the bath section. Oh, man. That's not what's going on in his career, is it, guys? And that wouldn't be better if it was.
And then he said, in our case, being players, talent, and the general production to let people into the engine room of a CSGO event. To me, this event brings back parts of what I've loved from LAN in the early 2000s, so it's regressive then.
Wait a minute. Even that analogy is whack. You wouldn't ever let general plebs into the engine room of a fucking train, submarine, whatever. You wouldn't go, you know what? Come on back here. Start twiddling with knobs and stuff if you want. Maybe you'll make the broadcast better. Like, you wouldn't do that, would you? That's a private area.
And then all while opening up all areas for the people attending. So I'm excited. Right. Well, first of all, right, speaking of somebody who's fucking just has a deluge of death threats every day, this would be the most terrifying prospect forever. Well, it's just people everywhere. Access all areas is there. That couldn't possibly go wrong. I'm going to call it now. Right, I got on a limb. Something bad's happening. Something bad is happening in this event. Someone's gonna get some shit stolen, or somebody's gonna get fucking filmed doing something in an area they thought was fucking private, or we're gonna have a front page Reddit thread about a drama that shouldn't have fucking happened, and maybe someone's gonna fucking potentially lose a job or get hammered on by the community again. Something like that's happening. Richard's calling it now because access all areas for fucking fans. All of the fans, but come the fuck on. What are we talking about here? You need private areas for players, for talent, for the crew. Like, I'm sure everybody would like to have a peek behind the curtain, but there's a fucking reason why the curtain's there, you mad cunt.
Of course.
So I do not get that.
This is what Refresh would actually do. If they had have run the fucking Emerald City of Oz, they'd be like, right, well, anyway, we've had to downgrade where the wizard is to just a fucking shack. But if you pay $5, you can just look at the little guy behind the curtains and go, wow, this is fucking shit, isn't it? It's nothing like I imagine.
Plus,
they
exactly.
From it that way.
Yeah, but obviously as well, seeing what goes on behind it actually can ruin the illusion a little bit. But I'll just say this as well: this doesn't apply to everybody. I've met plenty of fans that have followed my work for a long time. I'd happily go out and have a beer with them. They're good folk. But I've also met fans who are a little bit awkward. They don't really know what the protocol is. And I'll give you an example of this. When we used to do E-League, there used to be toilets out that the fans could fucking go in, and occasionally, if it was close or whatever, and I needed a piss in a commercial break, because I only had 3 minutes, I'd bomb out and I'd go to the toilet, and occasionally I'd be taking a piss next to a fan, and a fan would literally like say, "Can I?" He'd already have his phone out, like leaning over. Can I take a picture of you? Well, my cock out, like for real, like and they don't understand it. I said, "Who are you, fucking Dr. Disrespect?" So the fucking point of that is, like, maybe you don't want fucking fans everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, something bad, I'm telling you, something bad's coming out of that. And you can dress it up and say it's fucking intimate or whatever. That's fucking dumb as fuck.
That's why I'm always one step ahead of the game. I only ever used to go in that A-League toilet with one of those like fake dicks that you used to pass like drug tests. I used to flop this motherfucker out like right on the edge. And then if anyone even looked over, I'd go, "You like what I see?"
Ding! It's unreal, mate. So I think this is a bad idea. But anyway, let's move on to the interview. They then decide to back it up, and they go into a little bit more detail about why it's a fucking furniture store. And again, keep in mind, they're talking about how it's going to be this better intimate experience. So tidbits from this interview. First of all, they absolutely nail it on. Yeah, we just didn't sell tickets. How you turn not selling tickets into a success. And then think about it.
Here's my favorite line of the whole interview. Other people won't get this, Rich, because it's so like subtle how stupid a line it is. But I'll just read it out for you. It goes, the guy asks him about the ticket price increase and about whether having a smaller venue is why. Because logical economics, if you make less money off, if there are less tickets to be sold, you will have to make the tickets cost more to reach the costs or to have your margin. Makes perfect sense. He goes, when doing an event that all of a sudden goes from 6,000 to 7,000 tickets down to 1,000 to 1,500, that of course comes at a cost. Well, yeah, because selling tickets is the only way you make money on that event.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So in other words, what they're saying is every time we've come to America with our events, it hasn't fucking worked out. Now, I'll tell you this from just real talk at E-League. It's a lot harder to get people in NA, especially in certain parts where there's like you've got this saturation of things to do to come to events, and it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. I could have told you this if you were sending emails when I was working at E-League to ask me questions instead of trying to get me fired. I would have told you this right out the gate because I know about this shit. We used to have people. We used to give our tickets away, and we'd still have sometimes 200 at capacity, sometimes 40, and you had to move the chairs around because there's shit to do. There's other shit to do. So the things that would sell out, the VIP packages, well, of course, because they're the super fans. They're the people who wouldn't for the world. But then you're asking the casual fans to choose between, well, there's a new fucking Marvel movie out. There's actually another esports event down the road from an esports event I like better. There's a sports team in town. I can get tickets for that from a fucking scalper for the same price as this. Maybe I get to see the Lakers, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're competing with so much more. You're competing with so much more. Plus, there's no scarcity of esports events. It's not like when, you go to a place, it's like, yeah, obviously.
Not even the scarcity of blast events.
Yeah, like a Sao Paulo, Sao Paulo's getting there now where we're getting regular events like ESL and the Blast and stuff. But the reason that the first events in Sao Paulo were just packed to the fucking rafters was because there hadn't been an event that was like, with Brazilian teams there, Brazilian stars, Brazilian icons, right? Like in a big stadium before. It was like new, it was emerging. So obviously people are going to go and check it out. Like, esports in NA has just been a thing for like a long time, and we've hit a point where there's actually so much choice. You are trying to elbow into a very crowded fucking room. So I could have told you all of that right out the bat. To basically try and spin your failure to come even close to selling out a 10,000 stadium, which was mad optimistic, by the way.
Here's another detail that's hilarious as well, right? So at the end, the guy asks quite an understandable question. He says, are there any concerns with fire codes, given this was a former retail place?
Yeah.
Here's how I don't want a sentence to begin if I ask you about concerns about fire codes.
Yeah.
I don't want you to tell me how a critical part of the venue is made out of wood.
I know, it's mental, isn't it? It's mental. So
I only have a few basic requests when you have a building.
No, but that's the thing. I remember when I showed that picture with that massive wooden ceiling, everyone's going, it can't be that. Look, it's all got one side, it's all windows, and look at the wooden ceiling. How's that going to work? And then it turns out, no, that picture is legit. That picture is actually what it is. So he even says, Well, yeah, because the venue has a stunning wooden. Right. I don't know. Like, fucking hell, where have you been? Like, what are you? Are you fucking Amish or something? Like, if you're looking at a wooden ceiling, going, that's stunning,
That's
that,
right. Yep, blast barns. We're going to be having a barn race.
I've got the
Gemini over here.
the bar, but look at this glorious, stunning wooden ceiling that we put up. Like, what are you? Like, how starved for entertainment are you?
Blast and bless us all that God has provided for us.
Exactly. Like, if anyone's looking at the fucking ceiling at your event and going, that's fucking wicked, isn't it?
Mate, at some point they could literally play that song like the roof is on fire. We don't give a fuck. Let the motherfucker.
Culture. But they've said, right, because it's got a wooden ceiling, they went, yeah, we can't even have any pyrotechnics. They can't. So how's this show getting better?
They should just keep spinning it though, which is better because with all the low ticket sales, we couldn't even afford them anyway.
Exactly.
So better for everyone, right?
Yeah, but so here's the thing: you can keep trying to spin that, like you're just gonna let fans basically like just come up and creep on people like fucking Moses and that, like while they're trying to have some downtime. Like, hey, I fucking love you, Moses. Hey, can I put a green pie in your face? Like,
Mate, that would be the next level. Is if the recoup costs for $1,000, you get to at any point in the tournament pop up like that surprise, motherfucker. Just massive cream pie.
It is, isn't it?
Face.
That's obviously what's going to happen. It's just going to be like a
Cream
big
pie
get
package.
your custard pies. And just go wreck Moses. Oh God, I can't believe you're trying to sell this as like good and not a potential fucking disaster. Like what people wanted was they wanted a good atmosphere, good games, good teams, have some pyrotechnics, have a fucking show, and then go fucking home. But I don't even believe fans want to do that shit. This intimate setting that you're talking about. I don't even believe that fans do really want to be like, just go backstage and talk to people, can I? And take pictures of them. All right. Would have rather we'd had a good fucking tournament.
Oh, this door's a bit stiff, isn't it? You hit it with your elbow, you come in. You having a gangbang back here. This is what was my dream to get involved with one of these, no matter what they said. Notice I left the name out there.
Yeah, no, good for you. Good for you. No, but obviously it's like, you know, we all know what goes on in the fucking green room. You know, Anders will be there, fucking doing his fucking cocaine and mushroom fucking, you know, binge. You know, getting all the drugs.
Like, no, it's cool. I'm casting in an hour.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll be fine. The mushrooms will be kicking in when the game.
Sorry, what did you say? Oh, my bad. That was a DMT.
Right? And then someone's gonna come backstage and get a picture of that. You know, Anders looking like he's had a fucking powdered donut with fucking psilocybin mushrooms in his beard.
Just look over and you'll just literally fucking just go deep into those eyes. Exactly. Exactly.
You know
You'll start just having epileptic fits.
You don't want to know what's going on backstage at these events. Trust me, guys. You'll never look at us the fucking same way again. So anyway, yeah, the Blast, man. What an absolute nightmare. I can't
Please, guys, do keep doing these interviews and AMAs and everything else. Every time you communicate with the community, it is fucking gold.
Like, put it this way.
Gold.
Their entire event is riding on the execution of this fucking whatever the fuck it was called, the intimate zone. The fucking, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like fucking
Plastics front row experience or whatever it's
You are
called.
now
it sounds
entering the intimate zone.
It sounds like something that one of Joe Biden's aides stands beside him and says, "You're entering the intimate zone, Joe. Stop kissing that kid." Fucking hell, I can't do it, mate. It's too much. So their entire event is basically riding on the execution of this. And by their own admission, it's never been tried, and by their own admission, it's atavistic and it's a fucking throwback. So I don't know. What a fucking nightmare. But anyway, 4 days. I guess we'll find out, right? We'll find out if the fucking egg's on our face.
Mate, I've had more people in fucking bed than they're going to have there, and that wasn't too intimate. But I was fucking all of them as well. Luckily, they didn't pay for the experience, so kept it legal, didn't I? And the roof was only metaphorically made of wood.
Who were you, Machiavelli?
I know, exactly. And the wood was only metaphorically made of wood.
There was some stunning wood in that bed.
Exactly.
Oh, fucking hell. Anyway, that's that. We'll find out in 4 days. I think it's going to be a fucking disaster. I think it's going to be an unprecedented disaster. It could be, but the good news is, if it is, it could be the beginning of the end of all this fucking Blast Pro Series events. I'd also just advise people, don't watch it. Watch the VODs. Straight up. Like, let's make Counter. We've had a taste of something great with ESL1 Cologne. Let's make Counter-Strike great again. All right? Let's actually not support people that are just fucking straight wrecking the scene with their bullshit. So yeah, we'll do the questions. Right. Jerky's Mini and $100 patron. Love you. He says, what is the thing you hate most while at events? Fucking hell, where to start?
I mean, there's an obvious answer to that, but
What, you?
I mean, the obvious answer to the thing that everyone hates the most in the world is people, because the world's full of them and there's too many of them. So obviously annoying people's probably the answer to that, right? But I have to say, in general, events have gotten a lot better for that sort of thing, because they have security, they keep people away from you, they have reasonable, they have signing. One thing I liked was at Cologne, they had a proper signing session for the talents. That meant that you didn't feel bad if you were rushing to the stage and someone came out that little fucking pauper Basset hound eyes of but Mr. Can I please have a signature? So I've got to go to the stage now and tell everyone how shit MBK is. Can you get out my way? And kicking some little urchin in a fucking gutter. Of course, Blasted charge you an extra $300 to get kicked in the face by me in a gutter.
No, it's fucking
the wretched fucking urchin you are.
It's fucking,
and then,
intimate experience, that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'd be like, it's like going to a fucking theme park. You've got, you can do custard pie in Moses' face or get kicked in the face by Thorin over it.
There you go.
Yeah, do some beak with Anders. You know what I mean? Fucking hell. Anyway, for
Anders
me,
has brought a whole new meaning to the beak face, hasn't he? And this isn't a motherfucking emoji.
I love how
it'd be that laughing, crying eyed.
Oh, I know. I love how people think it's weight loss through diet and exercise. There's a reason he takes them pictures in the gym when he's fucking cranked. When he's fully
all I'm going to tell you is every time he comes back out of that gym, he's always talking about how he's got tiger blood and he's fucking winning. So I don't want to let you guys out on a bad secret.
Yeah, it's out of control. For me, it's lack of sleep, and it always has been, it always will be, because the TOs are just so unreasonable with your time if you're a host, in particular, because you open the event and you have to close out the event, and if there's any tech problems, it just spills into your day. And casters get to have afternoon sessions off. If they're not casting the game, they get told your call time to be on the premises is typically 2 hours before you go live. Well, if I go to bed at fucking 2 a.m. because we had, and that's being generous, and then I have to unwind, and I was there at 9 a.m. Pretty long day, but then I have to come back in for a fucking 6 a.m. call time. Because we're going live again at 8, so I get 4 hours sleep, and that's if I instantly turn my brain off as soon as I get home. So that used to be pretty brutal. It was the argument that used to go on at events was always, well, the crew are here even longer, and Duncan used to be very unsympathetic.
You all know how I had the clap back to that. I used to just say, it's not my fault your fucking job sucks. You should have paid more attention in school. I'm fucking killing it in the game. People will pay me to do my job.
People don't realize that's not even a joke. That's not even a bit. That's not even a bit. One time, me and Duncan were just talking.
No shame whatsoever.
Yeah, we were just talking about how fucking fried we were because we'd had 4 or 5 hours sleep, and some guy from the crew came over and said, "Well, I've had 2 hours in the last 2 days. I've been sleeping on the floor." And Duncan went, "I give a fuck. Sounds like your job's shit. Sounds like you should do something else. Sounds like you should get on my fucking level." I was just like,
"Am I wrong? I might be an asshole, but am I wrong?"
Duncan's pretty fucking vile when he doesn't get a good night's sleep, but that's not his major trigger point. But it's my major trigger point. I can't cope with the lack of sleep. I can't cope with that at all. And over the course of an event, you start to break down, body wise, right? You get a cold, you get a flu, you get sick, you feel a bit nauseous because you're getting you've got that cumulative buildup of lack of sleep, and then you got to go on camera, and it's you come in. And shout out to all the makeup professionals who do great work mates. Because I come in and I'm fucking pale as I'm not the best looking dude anyhow. But I come in and I'm fucking pale as death. I got a layer of fucking sweat on me, and I got eyes like piss holes in the fucking snow, right? And a makeup artist has got to make me look vaguely presentable to put me on
they're so
TV.
good. Sometimes if I go to the after party afterwards, I don't even bother showering and taking the makeup off. I'm I'm going to be under some lights again in a dodgy fucking circumstance. So let's make these bitches believe I am Robert Patterson.
Yeah, so,
keep the lie going.
So that was fucking that's it for me. I fucking hate the lack of sleep. And how tetchy it makes everybody, because you end up having stupid arguments with your mates as well.
It makes everyone on edge, of course.
Yeah, when you've had no sleep, and you can always tell when people are in they're in the hell where they've hit 3 days into an event and they just haven't had one good night's sleep, and they know they've got a 12-hour broadcast ahead of them. Moses, we always know when Moses is there because he puts his fucking shades on, he keeps his headphones on, he doesn't talk to anybody, he doesn't zero interaction, and we're like, okay, we won't wreck Moses today. Well, we say it and then we do it anyway. you know. So like you end up having arguments with your mates, like just little things like just snapping. And it makes the whole event like kind of bad. And then at the end, when it's over, you get that euphoria of a job well done, and you all have to kind of like get back to that place. Oh, sorry, I fucking snapped at you one day too, or whatever. So yeah, the fact that the tournament organizers are just so fucking over the top with how much they expect you to do. Like, put it this way, you know, having worked at a TV studio, the idea of like Shaquille O'Neal pulling a fucking 12-hour broadcast day like inside the NBA, there's just no fucking way. There's no way. You know, yeah, you get me on TV for 2 hours, that's fine. 4 hours maybe. Or what, a couple of playoff games? Yeah, all right, then fine. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it reasonable. 6 at a push. But the amount of hours we do as broadcasts in esports is fucking insane. And I know people are like, oh, you know, you piss in the morning, you've never done a hard day's work. I've done the hard day's work, but the difference was when I was on a building site, yeah, I'd be physically sore, but I still only did like an 8-hour day. And I only did a 5-day week. I could go home and go to fucking sleep.
And no one ever just came in at the end of the 8 days hours and just goes, actually, you need to do another 6 hours and carry twice as much. So could you please do that for the same money?
Yeah. Well, we've had tech problems. So now you're a bricklayer and a plasterer.
Yeah, the crane's broken down. So I'm going to have you lift these beams up.
But we see this as a positive. Now you're going to get to be more intimately involved in all areas of the construction, and therefore you'll be able to do a better job of it, won't you?
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's one of those things for me, and you know, as the industry evolves, it will change, and people will start. You know, there's already people like refusing to do call times and stuff, diva types. So whatever. It'll change. Reykjavik on Steam, $100 patron. With the inclusion of sub-only streams for Twitch, we now likely to see pay-per-view type events where we see the equivalent of multiple grand finals rather than a proper traditional tournament format. Yeah, I mean, look, I think with the pay-per-view events, you know, like I don't think we're going to see them straight away. I don't think that's going to happen. Hang on. Why is my phone fucking blowing up?
I think there's a lot of room to do something in that space. So I'm not quite sure how you do it yet. I mean, I obviously made a video a few months ago where I kind of alluded to the concept of like a UFC style tournament, you know, where you get one top team and then they're kind of like winner stays on with the belt. And then, you know, you build up to have other people battle them in a special format. So something like that would be perfect for it. But obviously the point in there is that is not exactly.
Give me 1 second. I think
so.
I think Maria's locked out. Hold on.
All right. He means Maria, his person who lives with him in his house. Not that his rear, his arsehole has been locked out of what?
Oh, my rear, okay, yeah.
The fucking scene. Why has it been locked? Has he just gone, listen, your ass is grass. You're out. You're out of the fucking cottaging scene. And he goes, my rear's been locked out of the fucking cottaging scene. George Michael was one of my favourite artists of the 80s.
Yeah. Anyway, so look, a lot of people appear to have jumped the gun on this, and like said, oh, we're going straight to fucking, we're going straight to pay-per-view, and it's just like, why does anyone think that? First of all, you technically shouldn't even stream Counter-Strike on a pay-per-view or on a sub-only stream. It's actually against the TOS. So that's a problem. And I don't think Twitch thought about that when that first came out. I mean, basically anything that the game dev owns the IP rights on, technically you should have to have their permission to stream it because you're using their property to make money. Yeah. So that was a strange one for me. So I don't think we're even going to see it. But the thing is as well, like fucking esports fans are outrageous. Where basically, you know, they're fucking saying, you know, like, oh, well, if you ever run a pay-per-view event, that'll be the death of your event. You know, we won't support you. We won't do this. But yeah, so I just thought like, it seems to me like everyone really jumped the gun there, but I'm fucking sick of esports fans like constantly demanding bigger and better and more expensive and saying they won't even pay the price of a fucking sub. They won't pay $4.99. Like, okay, we watched the SL1 Cologne. How good was it? Would you not pay $4.99 to watch that?
Here's the thing. I'm not going to go
Don't
crazy,
think you're a fan of Counter-Strike, honestly.
But if this was, I know obviously things like the Super Bowl are on another level in terms of history and all that, but I'm not joking. If I was someone who was at the level where, again, I had a normal salary and I had to work for that money, and I don't want to give some of it away for free because I'm obviously using it unlimited things I can do in my free time, I would pay like $20 for ESL Cologne. It's like almost a fucking week long. Had all the best teams, had an amazing format, had all the top talent, was in an awesome venue. Like, I don't think $20 would be outrageous. Now, I know that that's a weird step up in the economy because we've gone from 0 to 20 in that scenario, but like for the entertainment value, that's fucking amazing versus a 2-hour movie, a concert, everything else in the world that costs that. So the idea of just anything costing something is something we're going to have to eventually transition towards. Come on.
And the reality is, it won't even be. It'll be like how it used to be with GOM or whatever the fuck in StarCraft, right? You'll get a 720 stream for free,
Yes, exactly,
or something like that, you know. But if you want it in 1080 with all the bells and whistles and the desk segment,
not least by the way, because I've no doubt there's not an org out there right now that's actually daring enough to go pure pay-per-view immediately.
No one wants to take the hit.
They want to hit both markets. They want to get the free ones, as many as they can, but then hopefully get a few of you to pay. That's their dream right now, because it goes up from no one paying.
Yeah, like no one wants to take the hit, because then you'll be the one that gets all the shit from the community. You'll be the one that gets called evil. You'll be the one that people are leaving droves and say they won't support you again. The reality is this: if we do not find a revenue stream for online tournaments, like as in the broadcast of it, that isn't just sponsorship, Counter-Strike is going to have some problems the way we're going. Because I don't know if you've noticed, there's constant pushback about questionable content in video games. It's coming up all the time, and we're the only game that has fucking terrorists running around planting bombs, and there's already sponsors saying they don't want a fucking piece of that. Well, it's getting harder and harder now because everyone's losing their fucking goddamn mind, and we can't just have adult content anymore because, virtual things and no. Like, I saw a fucking video the other day where people were making the argument you shouldn't ever have to pit players as Nazis in the World War II, in a World War II themed video game, because it will make you more likely to become a neo-Nazi in real life. This is where we're headed. These people are driving the conversation. They're fucking morons. They're completely incorrect, right? But this will be backed up by everyone. Yes, we must beat the specter of Nazism. And it's like, 3 fucking inbreds in a fucking field somewhere in the middle of fucking Ohio or something.
That's no way to talk about Blast Ohio.
So
the most intimate of blasts.
So if you think that this idea of like free top tier Counter-Strike can keep fucking running with just sponsor money, guys, you're gonna have to put your hands in your pockets. You're gonna have to. I didn't say this back in 2010. I didn't say it in 2012. I didn't say it in 2013. I didn't say it in 2014. But if you want all big shiny shit, and you want us to stay at the top of esports and where we're at right now with CS, we're going to have to start thinking about how we can become a revenue stream to support our game. The end. And you can be part of the problem. Look, I know not everyone can afford it, but we don't think anything of it when we say, hey, I can't afford to watch the football on Sky. You don't think, like fucking, well, it's just tough shit. It's just tough shit. Can't afford to do lots of things. You don't get to do it. That's an unfortunate reality of having no money.
In short, as the great Be Real once said, so you want to be a rock star and live large, a big house, 5 cars, you're in charge.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't put it better. Right, Mike Feed Me, a new $50 patron, asked, with the recent abysmal performances of FaZe, how does that impact on Nico's ability to maintain his long-held status as second best? And if he is in jeopardy of losing it to ZywOo, how many more Cologne-level performances does he need to take that spot for him? I think Nico's already out of the fucking game as second best. Like, I mean, shit, you gave me a choice right now.
It's been underwhelming the last few months, mate.
Yeah, someone to build a fucking team around. Like, you take Simple, you take ZywOo. Might even be some other players I'd take, honestly. Trying to think who that would be.
Elige.
But yeah, I mean, fucking yeah, there you go.
Start
Twists. There. Elige, Twists.
Especially because, unfortunately, the problem Nico has is he has baggage, obviously, where he's been now been in a couple of teams that have kind of had their issues, and people have said there's this problem with the structure. It's like the thing with Shocks. Like, how many times is that going to follow you around, mate? You change all the people around you, and the same problems there. Maybe there's something that you need to address.
Yeah.
Not putting it all on you, but you're definitely part of the problem.
So yeah, I definitely say like he's not close to second. and all the performances in the world right now are, he's not even close to third. So look, at the end of the day, that's fine. He doesn't need to be there for FaZe to work, but they've got a fundamental problem that they need to address in terms of their roster, and I don't think it can be fixed with one or two changes. So appreciate the question. Sorry, it's a short answer. But Pounder 420, of course, says, besides Guardian, who's the next best player who will most likely never win a major? Well, we're staring at the face where, maybe Simple doesn't get one, right?
Oh, it's possible. If you think about the level he's at now, there's no guarantee he stays at this level. I would say with him, in a weird way, the whole fact that, like, realistically, Zeus probably won't play for too many more years, maybe 1, 2, max more. I think eventually, for me, even if it's just at Na'Vi, they get the right bunch of players eventually, as long as Simple is still one of the top players, maybe not the top player, there'll be a chance to win one maybe. So I still think it could happen for him. Right now, it's kind of sad, I agree, that his absolute best peak of form hasn't coincided with the realistic major because it came against Astralis and now Team Liquid's so good. So he was definitely very high up on this. Nico's obviously another one right up that fucking list because, again, in his case, it's going to take so much. He's going to have to change around before he's going to win a major, especially because we haven't got any joke teams now. Like, sadly, the one major he was in the final of was like almost like the world stopped to give him a chance to win. And as you know, he had a little bit of a heartbreak with how he played in that one. So I'm sure he wishes he could have that fucking day back.
Oh, that's a missing ring for sure. And look, the reality is the fact that there's only 2 fucking majors a year, and that doesn't look like it's going to change.
That also makes it way harder. Sure, think of all the teams back in the days. If you take one major off the bunch, you've got a whole bunch of players have never won one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of people, but I think we're staring at a reality here where I don't think this Na'Vi team is good enough to win a major, and the travesty is that best will in the world, like Simple can carry it to the semifinals, maybe even the final, but then that's just a bridge too far because of the strength and depth in the field, and you get found out. You can't perform heroics against teams that have heroes themselves on the roster. So I think Simple's going to be quite potentially, unless he's willing to make a move or something radically changes at Na'Vi, I think Simple's going to be the most egregious example when we look back on Counter-Strike history. I think we'll look back and see how good he was for these 2 years. And,
he's going to be like the fucking... the way his career is right now, as depressing as it is to say, he's going to end as like the Dan Marino of fucking Counter-Strike, where it's like redefined the game, broke all the records, impossibly good individually, but that the cunt will always be able to go, but was he the best if he didn't win? And do that thing where it's like, well, come on, mate, is that really a way to treat someone's career when they have been fucking amazing?
Mm-hmm. So there you have it. So thanks for all your questions. Remember, if you're a $50 patron or above, you do get to ask. So be sure to do that. But I think we'll wrap up the show there. So again, apologies for all the internet problems. And then I'm guessing you were laughing because somebody got a view of my ass crack. Sam, you'll be taking that out.
No, you didn't. I don't think so.
Oh, no ass crack?
No, you said my rear at the door, and he was like, he's not on about his rear.
No. Right.
It was just, it was just a bit of
I got back in time just to hear George Michael. I'm like, well, okay,
that's a timestamp. That's a potential timestamp you missed, if anything. Yeah. So anyway, George Michael. It's just, all right, Rich, how you doing there?
But anyway, I fucking I don't envy you having to fix this, Sam, because you're gonna be chopping this.
To be fair, most of the times you lagged out, Thor went pretty ham for the filler content, so a lot of them can stay. Some of them will have to trip.
There you go.
Good.
And if you play for the new Blast Ass Crack Experience Zone ticket next episode, you can just look at Richard's ass the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's very
and drink his bathwater.
Yeah, very
topical.
Vape my piss. So anyway, whatever. Fuck this.
Leave that in. Leave that in. I don't know. Leave
vape my piss.
I don't know what's wrong with me, Sam. Anyway, so thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to JW for the host as well. Really appreciate it. Good to see you, big man. Thanks a lot. And we'll be back next week, regular schedule, talking about the Blast LA and its intimate experience. Can't fucking wait for that show. We might do record numbers for that. But yeah, thanks for all the support, guys. We'll see you on the next episode of By the Numbers.
And of course, thank you to our patrons. $100 patrons, Jerky's Minion, Detlaf Insomniac, and Reykjavik on Steam. And our $50 patrons, Saad Sawar, Butt Pounder 420, Watch Doge, Madsen, Betakagi Assassin, Mike Feed Me, Marcus Kiumpa, Tobias Bernasconi, Carve, and TC Owens.
And until then, take care of yourselves.